And our regular meeting of the Stuart City Commission. Sorry, I'm on here. There you go. Okay. Mary, would you call the roll?
Mayor Collins.
Here.
Vice Mayor Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Giobi.
Here.
Commissioner Rich.
Here. Okay, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, or forgive me, the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And Pastor Brocious is with us. Yep, so invocation and then the pledge.
Good evening, all. Commissioners, let's pray. Father in heaven, again, thank you for your grace and mercy and kindness to us. Just the grace of allowing us to live in such a beautiful place. And thank you. It's all of you. And we do pray for these, our leaders, with thanksgiving. Lord, we ask that you would grant them continued direction and wisdom that would come from you for the good of our people, the good of our city, and it would bring honor and glory to you. Lord, again, we pray for health and strength for all of us, that we may be the best, that we may bring your good to our families, our neighborhoods, and those around us. Lord, thank you for Helen McBride, who has been so faithful, Lord, to care for our city over the years. Lord, how we pray that you would be with her with this stroke and now in hospice. We ask, God, that you would be comfort and guide and direction, and again, that it would all bring glory to you. So we pray for her family and all, that you would bring comfort, peace to them. So, Lord, again, thank you for tonight. We pray that you would guide and direct us, and we pray this in Jesus' name. And everybody says,
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
I
Pastor.
pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into comments by commissioners, I wanted to ask if Helen's daughter, would you mind just... Yep, just a comment, yep.
I'm moved to be here because my mom has spent years in this room and at this podium. My name is Robin, and my mom is Helen McBride. That makes me proud to say. I wanted to update everybody. I don't know who knows her.
Everybody.
Specifically, yeah. Dumb question, sorry. My mom had a tragic fall on Thursday afternoon, and she had a massive stroke. She had several CT scans and an MRI that confirmed that she will not recover from this. And, but she's still talking to us and spoke with Eula today, which was beautiful. Thank you for coming to visit my mom. And I think that's just such a gift that we've been given, that even the severity of her disability, that she's still able to talk and we're able to share so many meaningful conversations. Don't know how long this is going to last, but I'm grateful for that. My mom loves Stuart, Florida. I grew up here and I love it as well. I don't know really any of you, but I've heard your name several times by my mom's voice. She spent all her energy making sure that Stuart was the best city it could be, and I'm proud of that. I did want to make everybody aware of her situation, but also I want to do something for my mother and honor her. When everybody's voting, on anything that relates to Stuart, Florida, ask yourself, what would Helen do? And you'll never make a bad decision.
Praise the Lord.
Now, for those of you who knew her well, you're going to understand this last comment. When she does pass, I feel sorry for anyone in heaven, because she's going to make sure that everything changes, and she
right.
doesn't care who Jesus is, and she's going to make it known that she's there.
That's right.
I just want to especially thank everybody for loving my mom. I was the luckiest girl in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, and please send all our love to your mom, and we're saying prayers.
Commissioner Rich, did you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sir.
I wasn't going to mention that, but I'm not glad you mentioned it, because obviously, but yeah. This community is very lucky to have an individual such as Helen, who cared so much and participated in such a civil manner and really enriched local government. So unfortunately, I have to travel to Tallahassee very soon, but I hope I can get back, and I know my wife and I are anxious to go visit her. The mayor and I were at the Rivers Coalition meeting the other day, and an interesting remark was made. And they were talking about government responding to the needs of its communities. And as they pointed out, cities respond faster than counties, counties respond faster than states, and states respond faster than the federal government. And sometimes the most powerful example is the simplest example. And I just want to point out to you that on the 12th of this month, all the commissioners received a letter through the city email, and it said, I was down at the amphitheater by the boathouse, and she's not familiar with our community, and I was trying to walk down the stairs, and I couldn't see the stairs, and I couldn't gauge the depth, and it was very dangerous. And so I went down there, took a look at it myself, and I forwarded an email to the interim city manager saying, do you have an interest in addressing this matter? And today he responded by showing us pictures, I don't know if the other commissioners saw this, but of the new lighting that they have in fact installed that is terrific, that is going to make it safer for people who visit our downtown. And well done, interim city manager.
I can stop you right there. It's going to sound very familiar. This was Milton Leggett.
Oh, Milton.
And yeah, Milton Leggett and Jim Krulski.
Speech.
As soon as they heard something about boardwalk and all that, they jumped into action. So
Well, it was at your direction, and
yeah.
but that's good you got him on my neighborhood, because he's been causing a little trouble. No, no, we actually redid the median on Flamingo, and it looks absolutely terrific. The point I'm making is that local government is so important, is so essential, and can be so responsive. My concerns during the legislative session deal primarily with ensuring that we have home rule, because I'm the City of Stuart's representative of the Florida League of City, and that is what they do. And along those lines, I'm going to ask my fellow commissioners' indulgence, because I have to be in Tallahassee at 8:30 tomorrow morning to talk to our legislators about the issues that are of vital importance to us. So I am going to leave just before the D&D starts, and I hope no one takes offense. Believe me, I will review the remarks made during that, but I don't drive that well in 2:30 in the morning. So I'll thank you, Mr. Mayor, for
No
allowing me
offense
that.
taken, and thank you for going up there and helping fight
For home rule.
For home rule.
what appears to be a unhinged session. So,
That's a very good description.
Commissioner Giobbi,
I have no comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I went to see Miss McBride today, and Miss Joby wanted to know, and I think others, I don't know if Robin wanted others to know, but she's actually here at the hospice right in front of the Splash Park, the Hay Madeira Harper Center. So it's on the north side, the other front part is on Indian Street, and she's right there. Visitors are welcome. And she did speak to me, and Chief Felicioni, she said, you know, the guy who came by, all the numbers for all my children and everybody was on the refrigerator. And, you know, the fire department, they came so quick after he called them. So, and I'm just surprised knowing the level of illness that she's at. She's actually speaking, and her wit and her memory and everything is right there. So she's just, yeah, just amazing. So, and she remembered that. So if you didn't come fast enough, she would let you know. So, we had an interesting meeting before this meeting, which was our CRB meeting. And I know that people make a lot of effort to come out to our city commission meeting. If you could continue to go to our website, look at our meeting schedules when the individual CRB meets, when the individual LPA meets to discuss projects and matters before them. And then when we have those joint meetings, those are important too. It's not just the 5:30 city commission meeting. Please watch those schedules and come out to those meetings. Right now, the Stuart Main Street is doing survey to look at this particular property here and the entire property down towards the point, and but especially this property. And so there are ideas for us to make plans or change plans for the future. So please get involved with that survey, find it, call Main Street, go on the website, call City Hall, and find out what you can do to put your input into that process. Mr. Mayor, other than thanking Milton for all that he does, we'll wait. I know that there's a particular item on the agenda with the East Stewart situation, and I hope that we can, we'll have members of the public here to help us look at that as we talk about what we'll do with that committee and how that will end up as of tonight. But our soon-to-be city managers among us, for those who don't know, Roz Johnson, and we'll soon get a chance to meet her, Roz Strong. We'll soon get a chance to meet her and see her. So I just think that we have a great city, and we need to continue to support each other and work to get things done. And thank you, Mr. Rich, for what you're going to be doing at the legislative level. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I have some notes from my town hall. The biggest thing that I heard was the public wants more from us. They want more open government. So I plan on doing one a quarter, and I'll probably bounce back and forth between City Hall and 10th Street. I did take some notes, but the biggest things too were like safety issues as well. So I'll rattle some off. So, and some were already addressed. So the Tarpon Avenue and MLK, the silt fence for Project Lift, that being a blind spot. Georgia Avenue and MLK potentially being a four-way stop because that's another blind spot there. The stop sign not being visible on MLK and Palm Beach Road when you're heading east. There was a pothole and speeding, I believe, on by Alamanda. One thing too, this might be for Lee or Jolie. Do we have a say-so in hiring outside counsel for litigation? Like, who sets that policy?
Yes, we have a list. We have a list, an approved list through TRICO, and so they have to be vetted through TRICO, and so we have a list of various attorneys. Sometimes the adjuster makes a recommendation, but ultimately I decide who we hire.
Okay.
But it's usually from an approved list of several different firms. In exchange, they've agreed to a certain hourly rate and so forth.
And then this one too, Lee, you might know about this one. So traffic count and studies before a property is issued a CO. For example, if you have a development, and this might, I think it might talk about Florida state statute stuff. So if you have a project in question that has not CO'd yet, they don't have to include that in their traffic count.
I don't know the answer to that, so I'll have to get back to you on that.
And then one big one that keeps getting talked about is affordable housing as well. That's a touchy subject because I think everybody in this room has a different mindset for what's affordable versus their neighbor. So I'm not sure how to fix that one. And that's all I have.
I have no comments. Mr. Baglioli?
No, sir, not at this time, other than just that we're anxious to see Roz in the seat.
No pressure.
Here's your smile.
Do I have a motion and a second for approval of the agenda?
Move approval of the agenda as published.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Comments from the public on non-agenda related items, 3 minutes.
I do. I have Janine Alexander.
Can I disseminate these letters that were actually attached to an email in December 30th of 2023? They're addressing public records requests.
Mr. Mayor, this is
This is on the
this is an agenda item.
This is an agenda item.
Yeah.
Not this in
That item,
particular.
though, hang tight, that item, we weren't going to have public comment. It was just going to be a D&D. So this would be her opportunity to speak.
Okay.
I'm going to wait till this. Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Had I seen this?
Some of you all, if you were in attendance on December 8th, 2025, might recall my name, Janine Alexander, as I presented that evening some concerns as to how public records are handled, primarily by the former city administrator, Michael Mertell. Michael Mertell and I became introduced in 2018 when I filed a citizen's complaint in regards to several concerns about police matters. This evening, I would ask for you, as citizens of Stuart, I was once one of you. In 2015, I was a resident at Vista del Lago, to remain until the final agenda matter is heard this evening. I attended state legislation this past week in regards to a bill on domestic violence, SB 682. I was allowed to present to senators, and as you might already realize, my voice was shaking then too. I've never presented in that magnitude in my life, but I felt like it was my civic responsibility and duty to do so. I am the victim of a domestic violence incident. It turned my life upside down. And for 10 years, I've fought hard to regain what I lost in one night. It was as a magician had pulled the tablecloth and nothing remained on the table. I was arrested on March 11th by 4 Stuart police officers who came to my home at 10:30 at night without a warrant. If they had probable cause, they could have served it earlier that day when I was at the police station. They could have made a friendly arrest, but instead they subjected me to circumstances that could have cost my life. I was driven into a state of anxiety where I took anxiety medications that were enough, as the ER doctor said, to kill a horse. I don't know why I'm here today, but I'm glad of it. My sympathies go out to this young lady whose mother's in the condition she's in, because my mother passed 5 years ago, and I still wear the title of felon. And I'd like to erase that title before I die. My name's Janine Alexander, and I hope you'll remain and listen to the final agenda matter this evening.
I have David Kelman.
Ladies and gentlemen, I personally want to thank Mr. Rich and Ruth for coming out to my property, Poppleton Creek, and observing the issues that we are having there in our creek. It was wonderful to have them out. I wish others would have came out, but unfortunately, I guess schedules conflicted. I would also like to thank the Chief of Stuart PD for coming out to our community, introducing himself at one of our meetings. It was very nice to have him out there. And introduce himself and talk to the public and, educate them on certain aspects of the police department. That's pretty much what I have, and I hope we still haven't forgotten about Poppleton Creek and the issues that we're having there. This morning, I do have photos. I'll show them to Mr. Rich and Ruth at some other time. About 400 feet of our creek this morning was nothing but sludge and oil. So we need to, as a city, find out where our water is becoming contaminated. Big part of it is Canner Highway. The other part of it is the Poppleton Creek Dog Park Water Retention Area, which nobody wants to address that. Situation's going on over there. But our waterways are in serious condition, okay? I mean, the smell, the sludge, the oils. Mr. Rich, I believe, witnessed it himself, along with Ruth. So hopefully it stays fresh in everybody's head and we can move forward and all come to a compromise on getting this addressed throughout the river, not just Poppleton Creek. Fraser Creek, Poppleton Creek, and the rest of our waterways. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have no further public comment, Mayor.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second for approval of the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the consent calendar, which is items numbers 1 and 2, with various minutes.
Do I have a second?
And do you need individual?
I'll second, okay.
Second.
Who's second?
And then we'll vote.
Seeing a motion and a second. Mary, would you call the roll? Unless
Vice
there's
Mayor
any
Reed?
discussion,
Yes.
forgive me.
Commissioner Giobi?
Yes.
Commissioner Rich?
Yes?
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes. Moving on to commission action. Item number 3, utilities easement, hangar, Witham Field Airport.
Resolution number 08-2026, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, accepting a utilities easement granted by Martin County, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a partial release of non-exclusive water and sewer easement agreement between the City of Stuart, Florida and Martin County, Florida, related to hangar number 10, located at Witham Field Airport, providing an effective date and for other purposes. And this is my agenda item, so I'll provide a background. So the airport is outside the city limits. However, several years ago, the city agreed to provide water service and sewer service to the airport. And so as a result, the city and county entered into an agreement in which several easements throughout the property, which would include the infrastructure in the ground. We're responsible for the infrastructure within the easements that provide the sewer and water service to the airport. I guess the city was granted a utility easement where the infrastructure was located at what's called hangar number 10, which already has been built over. And so they built a hangar over our easement. Once they became aware of it, they had the developer who was developing the hangar number 10 to put in new infrastructure in the ground around and rerouted around the hangar. And so this resolution would be accepting this new easement that Martin County had provided to us, which is rerouting infrastructure around hangar number 10, and then we would be releasing the old easement with the old infrastructure in the ground. If you have any questions on this, I'd be happy to answer.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Attorney, it's my understanding that this sometimes happens, and maybe we need to have an agreement with the county where we overlap on certain things so we know in advance, not after the fact, that they've built over a piece of property or built over a line of ours. So maybe going forward, we could have that as just, not that either one has to approve it, but just an awareness of, we're building this, it's over your water line, and everybody's aware. So I think that would be important. And then I understand that the developer paid for the line, not the city. Thank you.
I have a light on.
Forgive me, go ahead.
Oh, you did say it? Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Joby. Yeah, I was going to bring up, just for the record, if there's any cost involved in this cost loss, and I think you brought up the fact about who paid for the line, but just as a course of business, when in looking at these things, especially when we have things that are joint with the county, we want to make sure if we're spending or losing any money on this type of thing. So I don't think that we're losing any money, and I mean, I don't object to us accepting this arrangement as it is now. They keep what's underneath that hangar, and we keep the new easement that's been created.
Not really. I mean, Sunshine 811 exists for a reason. They would have known these utilities were there then before they built the hangar.
I can't explain what,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't explain
When
what.
did they build the hangar anyway?
I do not know those details. So my impression is just like when a developer comes in the city to develop, it goes through the various departments, utilities, fire department, development department, and so forth, and everybody checks the box. But since this is outside the city,
Right.
we're not included in that process. And so it's would have been up to the county's utilities to notify them that there was a utilities easement there. But I don't know the details of how that escaped. Technically, it's an open hangar, so the easement could still remain and the utilities could be accessed. You just got to, I guess, blast through the concrete flooring. But they put in new infrastructure, so we have new infrastructure. So we're benefiting by having new infrastructure, not the old infrastructure in the ground. I know it's a nuisance having to have to go through this hearing, but it is actually probably a benefit to the city. I know before Mr. Mortel left that there was potential discussion of maybe having the county take back over the water and sewer, but I don't know that any further discussions has occurred on that issue, but I know it was an issue that was going to be discussed or may have been sort of discussed, but I wasn't involved in that discussion.
So for context, I've been waiting to speak to this. The mayor comes in and signs forms, and this particular item was in the package of items I was to sign. And so, I thought that's strange. We never talked about this. Why is this, and so I brought up bringing this in front of all of you and the public because I think this kind of a thing is part of what people, and this is a small item, this is not a big deal, but this type of thing where, the things are done and there's no transparency potentially outside of the daylight, outside of public awareness. And again, I don't want to beat up on the county or this particular item, but if you're going to try to encourage a culture of more transparency, having this on the agenda is for that purpose, because in what other situation could a property owner build on top of somebody else's utility easement? I mean, there's lawsuits that have been happening in the city of Stuart that we're all aware of, where this kind of a thing has been a huge issue. When could you do that and then just move it and then send over the form to be signed? It's a strange thing. You can't do that. You couldn't do that in private sector, certainly not public, and then somehow hope that it just doesn't hit the dais. So, again, not to beat this to death, but I think it's inappropriate for the county to function that way, to move our utilities without our permission, get it all done and then send us the form to sign, and I don't want to litigate it with you guys as to what happened, but I hope if anybody's listening over there, don't do that anymore. And on our end, we'll try to do our best to be as transparent as well. And if this is the way we've done business in the past, let's stop. Would be my sentiment on this.
Mr. Mayor.
Did you
Oh, the
have
commissioner.
comments? Okay.
She, Commissioner Clark had her light on first.
The light system is not working?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thanks. So, I'll complete the last. So I guess maybe one day we need to have staff, probably our development staff or building staff, especially on building type matters, development matters, when you have the school board and the county, and especially the county property, that's the county's property that is not in the city limits, it's kind of taken out of the city limits for whatever reason, although people assume that it's in the city, but it, especially the school board, they have their own procedure for doing buildings, they do things, and we have our joint city-county school board meetings, and maybe if we need to ask each other and find out how we can better get these things done, because they are always constantly doing things. We have Stuart Training School, we have J.D. Parker, we have the school in Jensen Beach, and we have Stuart Middle School. But all the time, these construction, they do not come through the city. And so something could be happening on a school ground that maybe even affect some public water line or whatever the situation is. So I think that we just need to figure out how we can better coordinate things. But we don't have, it's been traditional, and that's the way it has happened, that they completely do their own thing, school board and this thing with the county. But I think that the history was there with the county, that they knew that this line belonged to the city, and so definitely we have to, I think that maybe there could be something that we can work with, bringing to the joint city county school board meeting to ask for an explanation to see how we can better, not that they're gonna come to us with all of their building plans, but we at least need to have some kind of an inquiry or a checkbox that says, is there an impact to the city of Stuart or some city facility or something like that? City easement, city facility. We've had like the water lines that are the purple lines that give gray water to different places, and they go all throughout along the side of the road, and there could be something that the school board or somebody's doing, and so we just all need to know what we're doing with.
Yes, we are liable for those pipes, right? Whatever infrastructure, even if they paid for it to be redone, we're still on the hook. It's still our.
We own the infrastructure, except now that we're releasing the infrastructure that's under the hangar, we won't be responsible for that anymore. But the new infrastructure. Right, if it breaks, we are responsible for it, so there is a benefit.
We had a chance to properly inspect that to make sure it was done.
Yes, there was a lot of back and forth with Mark Rogolino and Peter Coonan with representatives from the county airport, that we made sure it was inspected and cleared by DEP, and other certifications were made. So we actually were delaying accepting the new infrastructure until it passed those certifications.
So it's been certified by DEP, but did Peter or whoever have a chance to, before the dirt went back on top of it?
That part, UNE would have to speak to, but this is because we don't have, the airport's not ours.
Right.
That's why they give us access to go into that secured area to
But
do
that
that.
easement is.
Right, that's why they gave us the easement, so we can access our utilities to maintain them.
Did you have a chance to investigate that?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Peter Cunin, Utilities and Engineering Director, for the record. Yes, we did. We had one of the city's UNE director inspectors out there that observed the abandoned section of water main that was beneath the hangar itself, and also observed the construction of the new section of water main that's within the new utility easement.
Perfect. And it met all of our Perfect.
Yes, sir, it did.
Thank you.
You're very
I
welcome.
appreciate you commenting on that.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Giobi?
Yes. I had mentioned it before. I think I would and I would not like to blindside them at the city, school, and county meeting. I think in advance, if we could send a letter, if the other commissioners are in favor of that, sending a letter to the county to ask that future projects, please be aware to make us aware that they're building or changing something over a pipe or whatever that we own. So then we can certainly, at the city, county, school board meeting, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, we can ask them if they've resolved the issue, if they've addressed it or whatever.
I'm happy to assume positive intent and that it was just an oversight and not that they were merely looking to maximize hangar space at the airport. Easements be damned, you know?
Right, but in the future, they would also then be on record to know that we're aware, and if they could please just be considerate of, you know, our pipes and whatever. So I would like, if the other commissioners are amenable to sending a letter to the county in advance of the meeting.
And I wasn't thinking about the next meeting exactly. I was just thinking that working on a policy just to inform each other.
Okay, I may have misunderstood, because you said when the meeting comes, you would bring it up.
I didn't
Yes,
even have
okay.
that schedule. I didn't have that schedule for the next joint thing. I'm thinking of that coming up in June, because that's usually when they come.
If there's no other comments, do we have a motion for approval in a second? For item number 3?
Move approval of item number 3 is published resolution number 08-2026.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any public comment on item number 3? Seeing none, Mary, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Rich,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Collins.
Yes. Item 4, selection and appointment of magistrates. Lee, are you taking this?
Yes.
All right.
Resolution number 10-2026, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, appointing blank as primary code enforcement magistrate for the City of Stuart and blank as code enforcement magistrate alternates and providing an effective date. Pursuant to Section 26-21, subsection C of the City of Stuart's Code, magistrate appointment and powers. The city, it specifically states a magistrate shall be appointed and serve at the will of the City Commission, but shall be initially appointed for a term of not less than 2 years and shall serve thereafter at the will of the Commission and shall continue to serve until a successor is appointed or until said magistrate may earlier resign or forfeit the appointment as provided above. A magistrate may be removed from office upon an affirmative vote of a majority of the City Commission members for any reason except to seek to influence the outcome of any matter which shall come before the magistrate. Back on the December 8th, 2025 Commission meeting, the mayor requested a discussion regarding the city magistrate's position and whether the City of Stuart desires to maintain the current magistrate or potentially select from the 2 alternate magistrates. So going further back in history, back in 2009, the City Commission passed a resolution 01-2019, which appointed Paul Nicoletti as the city's code enforcement magistrate, the primary, and Thomas Baird as an alternate code enforcement. The resolution also approved an hourly rate of $200 per hour, and consistent with our code, it provided for an initial term of 2 years. On April 10th, 2023, the City Commission passed a resolution 29-2023 appointing Wendy Werb as an additional alternate to the city code enforcement magistrate during Paul Nicoletti's appointment as interim city attorney. This initial term for this office was a minimum of 2 years. On December 9th, 2024, the City Commission passed Resolution 124-2024, which appointed Gemma Torsivia and Brett Lashley as additional alternates for the City of Stuart Code Enforcement Magistrate position because the previously 2 appointed alternate magistrates were no longer available. In the resolution, the city authorized a continued hourly rate of $200 per hour. Since then, on December 19th, Mr. Lashley communicated that in order for him to continue to be available as an alternate or a primary magistrate, the hourly rate for him would need to be increased to $375 an hour. And on December 26, 2025, Ms. Torsivia communicated that she is willing to continue to be an alternate magistrate or a primary magistrate and continue at the hourly rate of $200 per hour. On December 26, 2025, the primary magistrate, Mr. Nicoletti, notified the commission via written correspondence that he would be stepping down as the primary magistrate and be available as an alternate. In addition, he was requesting that his hourly rate as an alternate be increased to $400 per hour. So we have potentially 3 positions or 2 positions. We definitely need a primary magistrate to be selected from the 3. Well, from the 2, I should say, Mr. Lashley and Ms. Torsivia. And then Mr. Nicoletti is willing to continue as an alternate, and then whoever you don't select as the primary is also willing to be an alternate, obviously on the different hourly rates. So we're going to need, we have the resolution, we're going to have you fill in who would be the primary magistrate and either at least 1 alternate and possibly 2. And we'll also need to address the hourly rates.
So this is a really important move for us to make. Who is going to be the magistrate over the city? I mentioned last time the 2 different, between Gemma and Brett, Gemma Torsivia and Brett Lashley. They're both very qualified, but I felt more comfortable looking at Brett Lashley in terms of his past relationships to those who have been magistrates, and then just overall the firm he's a part of. So I'd like to make a move that Brett Lashley be appointed as the primary magistrate and Gemma Torsivia as the secondary, if there's a second.
Can the mayor make that?
No.
But the mayor passed the gavel.
Oh, you
Pass
just
the gavel.
I didn't see that.
So we have a motion by Mayor Collins to have Torsivia as the main.
No.
Right? No?
Opposite.
Lashley as the main, and then Torsivia as the
Primary.
alternate.
Primary and alternate.
Primary and alternative, yes.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
So we have a second from Commissioner Giobbe. Are there any public comment on this motion? We have 1 public comment. We're gonna need a card. You can speak and then you can fill out a card. Remember, it's 3 minutes.
30 minutes?
No, 30 minutes.
30 seconds. Just for the benefit of the public, I might ask the commissioners or perhaps the city attorney,
Name and-
in 20 seconds or 30 seconds, can you tell us the role and purpose of the magistrate?
Can you just name?
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Yeah.
Clay, can you give your
Give
name
your
and
name
address,
and-
please?
I'm sorry.
32 seconds.
Yeah, sorry. Clay Scherer, 200 Southeast, Four Winds Drive, Stuart.
Green card.
Mr. Baggett.
Do you want to answer that, Lee, or?
I can, if you want me to.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So our code, section 26-21 identifies A through J subsections, which defines the magistrate and appointment and powers. If you want me, I can go through it all. I mean,
Briefly?
Yeah, I was just looking for like a 20-second summary for us, we little people, so that we could understand.
So, as I already said, the commission may appoint 1 or more magistrates who will be the hearing officers for code violations. Magistrates shall be members in good standing of the Florida Bar and shall remain in good standing during their entire tenure as a magistrate, so there's a requirement that they be a lawyer. Trying to see what I bypass here. I've already said that they will be for a term of not less than 2 years. Magistrate shall be compensated by annual appropriation by the city commission, and we did not have that addressed in the motion, but we will need to address the hourly rates. You are, and this is in the code, but so I don't have to sit here and read it, but you've delegated the authority to the magistrate or magistrates to have public hearings on code enforcement violations so that you don't have to do it in your board. So We meet once a month for the hearings. Magistrates shall use sound discretion, may determine violations of ordinances, levy fines, levy administrative cost, grant or deny or modify extensions of time for compliance. They may also suspend, reduce, waive, or abate fines and cost in whole or in part, and may fashion other reasonable orders not in conflict with any applicable law or ordinance, including but not limited to the rehearing of matters and the modification and vacation of interlocutory and final orders.
He's way over 20 seconds.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get through some.
He can't do 20 seconds.
It does say the jurisdiction is not solely exclusive to the magistrate. When I was at the City of Port St. Lucie, I know some code violations, especially with animal control, we presented those to a county court judge in Fort Pierce. So, I mean, we don't have animal control here. Pretty much everything that all the codes predominantly go before our city magistrate. It also says in here, it's a broad discretion of jurisdiction granted. City Commission hereby specifically designates magistrates to decide petitions for abatement, reduction, or satisfy fines, and all liens recorded in the public record. Being an intent of the City Commission to delegate the authority concerning the satisfaction and release of liens to the city magistrate, hearings and orders regarding contempt proceedings, and rules to show cause.
I think we got it, Lee.
All right, we got it.
Does that help?
There's more, but I don't.
And this was adopted in 2005 as well, this ordinance, when it first started. Commissioner Clark, do you have a comment?
Yes, sir. May I?
Yes.
So going back to what Mr. Baggett just stated, just for the public, and I know that Mr. Shearer just asked this question. So that's section 26-21 of the code and ordinances regarding magistrate appointment and powers. And the main part about that is the appointment and the powers, the designation of the powers. That has been a major issue in this time when we've been transitioning our magistrate, that the public or people who are interested in items that have been handled by the magistrate have asked, or how do you appeal from the magistrate, and what is the authority of the magistrate versus what happens with the city commission? And we very clearly have guidelines that said that we've delegated that decision-making power in the areas that Mr. Baggett just brought up to the magistrate, and any appeal from that goes in accordance with what is in that same section, and it goes to the court system. And so all that, I don't know if we need to maybe make a little white paper so that people can have that process on our website and kind of have an idea, how does the magistrate work? How does something happen? I don't know if that's in Jody's area or if it's the city manager's area, but I think that people need to have a little explanation and put a little white paper on how our magistrate works. And that would be important to do. The other thing is that in the motion, I thought that when the mayor made the motion, he mentioned that he was asking for the $3.75 an hour. So I'm hoping that that is what it is, the $3.75 an hour, and that was included in the motion. I mentioned the delegation and, of course, the whole idea of sound doctrine and the appeal process. I think that whole idea of appealing from the magistrate and how that decision-making tree works is very important, and I think that we need to get that out to the public and let them understand how this process works and how the fines are decided by the magistrate and how that goes through. So I think that that's important. I just wanted to bring that up.
Does that conclude your comments, Commissioner Clark?
Yes, sir.
And that's, I had a comment as well. I think we'll clarify that in the motion as far as the rates, because we have 3 different rates going on. So I would like to think Mayor Collins will have to amend his motion Commissioner Giobi, did you have a comment?
No, oh, I'm sorry. No, I did not.
So let me update my motion to include the 375 rate that Mr. Lashley had included as that new.
All right, and that would be the hourly rate for Ms. Torsivi as well. I think it's fair to compensate him the same.
Both,
regarding-
both rate, yes. The alternate.
So when
and-
Ms. Torsivia covers for Mr. Lashley, if he's unavailable for any reason,
Yes.
she would receive the same rate.
Yes.
Now, how would that work for Nicoletti that asked for 400? Would he,
I don't think he
It's up to
included.
us.
he wouldn't be included, okay.
Right.
Be the
so
same
those
thing,
two.
yeah.
At 375.
Yes, it'd be the same.
Mr. Collins' motion did not include Mr. Nicoletti as an alternate.
No.
No.
So you're going to need a second on that updated motion. Who?
Second. That was, okay. I
GOB.
really,
Was it Miss?
It was Commissioner.
Commissioner Giobi needs to address.
Yeah, you need to accept his amendment, Commissioner.
she did it.
Yeah.
But I amended the second to include the 375 rate, so you would have to amend your second.
Right, I know. Commissioner Clark, thank you for jumping in there.
Are there any?
I second the amendment, thank you.
Are there any public comments on the amended motion?
Nice. If there are-
I have
Mary,
none.
can you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes.
Mayor Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi.
Yes.
You want me to continue or?
I'm going to take it back.
Sure.
Thanks.
Give it back.
Okay, so moving on to item 5. Interim city manager appointment.
Resolution number 11-2026, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, replacing Louis J. Baglioli III, Finance Director, with Rosman Johnson Strong, Human Resources Director, as interim city manager, authorizing an increase in compensation to the department director acting in a higher capacity as interim city manager, providing an effective date and for other purposes. So, as a background, on October 27th, 2025, the City Commission appointed Louis J. Baglioli III, the Director of Finance, as the interim city manager, and he continued to perform his regular duties as the Director of Finance in addition to taking on the duties of the city manager. And Chapter 4 of the city's employee handbook provides for an additional compensation of up to 10% for employees acting in a higher capacity in excess of 30 days. On December 8th, 2025, the City Commission authorized an increase in compensation via resolution number 111-2025 for Mr. Baglioli while he was the interim city manager, and it was retroactive to when he took place back in October. The City Commission desires to replace Mr. Baglioli with Rosman Johnson Strong, the Director of Human Resources, as the interim city manager until such time as a new city manager is appointed by the City Commission or at an earlier date determined by the City Commission. So we are looking for a motion.
Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion, I have my light on, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have a question for?
No, I want to make a motion right away, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I rise to ask the commission to approve resolution number 11-2026 for the appointment of Rosamund Johnson Strong as a interim city manager.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any public comment on the motion?
I don't think the subject should be.
Until they say yes, I'm still the city manager, so come up here.
I've never seen you stand before.
I've seen her stand up.
For a motion or something.
Yeah.
I think she's waiting for you to vote.
Yes, we have to vote.
She's waiting for you to vote.
Okay, I thought you were queuing
There's a
her up
motion
for
and a
comment.
second.
Mary,
There is a
would-
motion and a
Would you
second.
call the roll, Mary?
Vice Mayor Reed,
No, no, I'm sorry. I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect, yes, yes, forgive me.
Roz, could you
Mr.
come
Light.
to the dais, please? I'm sorry, sure. Your last name is Johnson, is that?
Strong.
Strong, okay.
How do you want us to address you, Roz?
My children's godparent is Strong, so I should know that. When did you become aware that this position was available?
Oh, gosh, I've been away at a training event, so the actual timing is going to be a little amiss for me, to be honest. It wasn't long ago. I can't give you the actual date. I can't recall the actual date.
When you became aware the position was available, did you then apply for it?
No, sir, I was asked to sit as the interim city manager until the position is filled.
And by whom were you asked?
Mayor Collins.
Okay. Thank you. On a more general note, I would just like to say that the charter does not provide for an interim city manager. There's no language for an interim city manager. We do have an acting city manager position, and explains how it is filled and how a successor is designated to that position if the need arises. And I think at some point we should have specific language that addresses the specific position of interim city managers, since it seems we've now had 2 in a very short period of time, and we're really in no man's land as far as our charter is. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments from our commissioners? All right, seeing none, Mary, would you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes?
Mayor Collins.
Yes. All right, Roz.
Jolie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolie.
Keep that money. Thank you.
Are you leaving?
She's taking the seat. I'm not leaving the room.
He's our budget director.
She's taking the seat.
The budget director doesn't need to be here.
I'm not leaving.
Finance director, always.
Finance.
I would like to just personally take a moment and thank Jolie.
Yes.
Lewis. He is an incredible awarded finance director, and really took this whole thing on short notice from us. Not everybody knows, but he's been working nearly remotely from out of state. And so he radically upended his life to come and cover for us in this process of getting a new city manager. So very thankful for Lewis, and he did a fantastic job, and I know we're all very appreciative of him. So
Thank you for Roz.
Don't thank her yet.
Roz, do you have any comments? You want to jump in here?
No, just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve in this manner.
Fantastic.
Look forward to working with all of you.
You're going to do great. Okay, so, yes.
For clarification purposes, Commissioner Rich, I know it doesn't say it in the charter as far as like an interim city manager. So like hypothetically, if the acting city manager had quit, how should that have been filled with an interim city manager then? Should we have functioned without one and gone through this process, or who would actually run the city then?
It may be an item for discussion.
It might be, because it's in the charter, so the only way to amend it is to go out for a referendum, which is very difficult to do, and one, it's costly, so I don't know if Joel.
I know, yeah.
I was just curious.
No, sir, just to something that's in there, the charter speaks to an acting city manager, but it references when the permanent city manager is currently not available.
Right.
And it speaks to a department director being appointed the acting city manager. Since we don't have a permanent city manager at the moment, it left a gray area. But imagine a situation where you're trying to appoint someone who's not already a city employee.
Right.
Then you're talking about an employment contract and advertising for an actual position, which we're trying to fill the permanent position anyway, actually. So it's just, the transition from me to Roz is very easy because we're both already employees. So that whole point of coming up with an employment contract and advertising the position just makes it easier to pass it around the department directors, who are obviously willing to fill the position as needed.
So for clarification, there's not explicit language around an interim city manager, but there is language around an acting.
There is, and it's specifically about when the city manager is not available, an acting city manager would be appointed from the department directors. We, of course, kind of created, I think interim was thrown on the title maybe 4 times back ago.
Yeah, right.
I've been the interim city manager multiple times, so.
Commissioner Rich, would you like to see that better defined? Would you like
Well,
to
if we're going to say they're de facto acting, there's very specific requirements for replacing Mr. Boglioli with Ms. Strong. And we did not adhere to those. So do we want to follow the rules? Do we want to pretend it's this? And I just think if we're going to act in this area and have people being compensated at a very high level, and these positions, I'm not sure how we got from Mr. Boglioli to Ms. Strong. And yes, I would like clarification in that as to the duties and responsibilities of the commissioners as regards to succession. I'm not saying it has to happen now, and certainly we should not have this discussion right now. It was a suggestion at some point in the future.
Mr. Baggett?
Sure, I actually pondered that issue when this came up, and when I dug into it, that historically we have referred to the person as interim city manager or interim city attorney, but when you look at our code in section 2-140, succession for city manager and department directors, it references the terminology acting. When it came up, I considered calling it acting city manager versus interim, but historically we have called this interim city manager. And also in section 2-140, subsection B, it says nothing in this section shall be deemed to preclude the city commission from appointing an acting city manager. So it gives you the authority. I think acting and interim can be used interchangeably in this situation because there's an absence of interim in our code. So we made the decision to continue like we always have and called it interim because that's what we've done. I know that's what other cities do as well, and I remember it happening at Port St. Lucie. So that did come up, but it's Commissioner Rich is right. It's not mentioned interim anywhere, but it's acting.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Yes. So I'd like to say that my understanding or the way that we've worked this is it's like acting for an interim period, the interim time period, but then we've still called it interim before the title of the position. So, but it's technically acting for an interim period. It's that interim period, and it got all convoluted into one thing as interim city manager. But we really need to look at succession, and we have a big job ahead of us to get a new city manager, and we'll be looking at that in the future. Most cities have a city manager and an assistant city manager, or we at least have some departments that work very closely with the city manager so that when something is happening, they can always pitch in. So we need to really look at that as a city in the future.
Before I move on to item 6, Clay, forgive me, I ran right past your public comment. Do you want to offer it up now in between 5 and 6? Whenever you have time. Let's go for it. We work for you, man.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
That's right.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true.
So Clay Scherer, Clay Treeman Scherer, actually.
That's right. Yes.
200 Southeast Four Winds Drive. So during public comment, I did want to bring something to the attention of the commissioners. Good evening, by the way. It's a concept that originated from my participation in the CRB and some discussions in the CRA. You're probably aware of the tree planting program that exists through the CRA, which is quite popular. So a few of us residents have been gathering from that concept around, well, how can we do that further into the city, not just the CRA? And as this band of volunteers has gained some momentum, as any of you know who have worked in maybe a large corporation or perhaps in city government, in hierarchical systems, once you have a project name, then you have a project. So Project Shademaker, as the team has decided to name it, has picked up steam. And when you start thinking about how can we improve shade trees along right-of-ways in the city, you then start to think about sidewalks, pedestrian, utilities, the roads. And so I just bring to your attention that I know there's an ongoing effort, obviously in Stipman Boulevard, that neighborhood, or Stipman in that neighborhood, which is a great concept. And now folks are looking at 10th Street, east of the CRA. There's quite a few of us who are interested in bringing that into the neighborhoods, let's say south of Ocean, west of Monterey, between Palm Beach Road and Monterey. It's all residential, and it just makes sense in many ways. But this sort of band of what I'm calling the bad news bears of residents bring various expertise to the table. And so it's cooked pretty well. It's actually well baked, I think, and it's ready for you all to maybe consider taking action on it or considering it, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. We don't really know what the process is, but when the time comes, I hope that we're able to share some of these concepts for your consideration. So I don't want to call it just a tree planting program, because it started from that, but built more into how do we make our neighborhoods more pedestrian friendly, which involves shade, sidewalks, roadway, utilities, all that kind of stuff. So thanks.
So you would function through the commission? So you would work with your commissioners to bring it forward as an item and iron it out potentially before it does? Because it's outside of the CRA.
Correct.
So if you're looking at a citywide initiative, it wouldn't go in front of the CRB, it would come.
Yeah, we wouldn't do it in the CRB, I guess. Would you recommend we did meet with, I guess, the city manager, which then, of course, changed to a different city manager, and we met with him, and maybe we'll meet with another city manager. But I think it's baked enough where it's really ready for you guys to think about it, and whether the funding
so then
comes
you would start sitting down with your commissioners.
From the from the half-cent sales tax around green infrastructure or not. But maybe there's other ways to fund it. So, yeah, thanks for your consideration.
Clay. Yep.
Thank you.
Good. That's okay. We normally don't make comment after. We'll discuss it later, because it was, again, with funding and the water in those trees, but that's okay.
Moving on to item 6, budget amendment number 1.
Full name.
Resolution number 12-2026, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, approving budget amendment number 1 for the short chain PFAS removal pilot study, authorizing the use of funds from the Water and Sewer Utility Enterprise Fund, authorizing the city manager to execute a related task order with Oltz Consulting Engineers, Inc., and providing for an effective date.
Peter?
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening again, Mayor, members of the commission, and members of the public. This item before you this evening is it's Resolution 12-2026, which approves budget amendment number 1 for the short chain PFAS removal pilot study at the city's water treatment plant. So first and most importantly, the city's drinking water meets all current federal and state regulations. PFOS and PFAS remains below detection in finished water. This item is not being brought forward because of a compliance issue or an emergency. As part of the EPA's unregulated contaminant monitoring rule, the city identified certain short-chain PFAS compounds in the source water. While these compounds are not currently regulated at this time and at the same levels as PFOS and PFAS, regulatory expectations at both the federal and state level continue to evolve. The purpose of this budget amendment is to take a proactive, measured approach to collect data now so the city is not forced into a rushed or costly decision to make later on. The pilot study will allow us to evaluate treatment performance, operational impacts, and potential costs under real-world conditions at the water treatment plant. The requested budget amendment is in the amount of $323,093.40, a sizable sum indeed. Funded through water and sewer utility enterprise funds. The work will be completed under an existing professional services agreement and includes pilot testing, engineering evaluation, and reporting. I would also like to add that the city has currently submitted a application for grant funding to fund a portion of this pilot study through the One Lagoon, or the Indian River Lagoon Council. And grant management services, which are included in the scope of work, would only be utilized in the event that the city does get a grant funded through One Lagoon. Any awarded funds would then be applied as reimbursement to offset the project costs. So I want to be very clear about what this action is not intended to do. So it does not approve construction of a new water treatment facility. It does not modify current operations. And it does not commit the city to any future capital projects. Once the pilot study is completed, staff will return to the commission with results and the findings of how successful the pilot study was, any alternatives and cost information, at which point the commission will determine the future direction to take for our water treatment in the city. In short, this item positions the city to be ahead of the curve, to be ahead of any potential regulatory actions that are going to be required. It supports long-term planning and preserves full commission control over future decisions. So with that, if the commission would like to have or pose any additional questions, any technical questions, at this time, I have our consultant here to provide any answers to address any of your questions at this time. I'm here as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Peter, the total would be 323,000, correct?
That is the total amount,
All
yes,
in, and then
for
we're
the pilot
applying-
study, yes,
And then we're applying for a grant with Indian River Lagoon?
yes.
And when did we apply for the grant?
The grant was applied for just this month.
How much did we apply for? Or do we apply and then they tell us how much we get?
Yes. We're not quite sure what the funds are. I've heard that it could be upwards to $100,000. But with that, the application is in, and we'll know within the next 3 or 4 months if the grant is awarded to the city.
Now, if we move forward with this resolution, what's Holt's construction engineer's timeframe for them to even start, I guess?
Well,
The reason I say that
yes.
is, would it make sense if there was a motion for this resolution pending the outcome of the grant, and then it come back in front of the board to reauthorize it, or that's not what you're...
We have to be proactive as possible with this. So our consultant is ready to get started with the pilot study next month, which is I would say by the middle of February, to start setting up the pilot, testing certain resins, certain absorbents to see how effective they are in the removal of this short chain PFAS.
And how many municipalities have approved this resolution so far?
That I do not know. Perhaps our consultant would be able to address this question. And I have Dr. Will Lovins.
Awesome. Welcome.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Will Lovins. I'm a consulting engineer with AECOM Technical Services. I serve as a water treatment process engineer. And to your question as to other utilities, PFAS is a very hot issue in the drinking water industry throughout Florida. The regulations, as you may be aware, for the long chain are at detection levels for PFOA and PFOS. So as part of the unregulated contaminant monitoring requirements and rule, we're looking now at short chain PFAS compounds. So that is a emerging constituent. There aren't many utilities looking at that specifically yet, although those that are seeing it in this monitoring should be taking proactive steps as the city is considering at this point.
And so this is a pilot program for you to look at data, I'm
Yeah.
assuming?
So the pilot program, I look at it as an evaluation to see how we can optimize the treatment to tailor it towards these shorter chain PFAS compounds, and looking at ways to use existing hardware to adapt the operation, maybe changing the media and that to a media that is more amenable to the short chain compounds to give a longer life and longer runtime between media change out. The current media in the plant does provide the short chain removal, although it's not as long as economically optimal. So we do think in our experience there are other media that could perform much longer.
Do you mind speaking to the cost of the media that we use currently? I think it'll give context for this.
Certainly. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
Well, currently, we budget, it's almost $1 million a year to change out the media at the water treatment plant in those ion exchange vessels. So it's, those costs, just like with everything else, will continue to go up. Costs are going up every day, just about. So with that said, it's a sizable portion to budget for basically pre-treatment of our water, the groundwater.
So would this take the data and look at filter alternatives then? Is that the end goal, to remove it? Are there filters that exist that are on the market that I'm just trying to understand it.
In a sense, it will. Now, as far as a filter, so basically it's a resin that's loaded into each of the ion exchange vessels over at the water treatment plant. Now, obviously, with a pilot study, it'll be on a much smaller scale. But what that will do is we'll be able to test various resins or combinations of resins to see how effective they are with the removal of the short chain PFAS.
Now, will this be tested before it gets sent to residents for drinking water?
Absolutely. Nothing with this test is going to, none of the water is going to be sent to the residents at all.
So it's all done at the water treatment center, basically.
That's correct. And also, I do want to just state for the record that there were two production wells, superficial production wells, wells 3 and 5, where the short chain PFAS was found. Once we had the lab results and we identified those two wells were taken out of service. We're not drawing water out of production wells 3 and 5 anymore. So in answer to I guess the concerns that may be out there, those two wells are the ones where the short chain PFAS showed up. We targeted those two wells to shut them down so that we basically would effectively curtail any of the short chain PFAS that would get through the treatment process. So it gets back to the city has had a long history with the long chain PFAS going back 10 years ago, and this is something new. We definitely want to be in a proactive position to address it head on. After all, the city of Stuart was the first city in the state of Florida that actually had the ion exchange pre-treatment system designed, permitted, and constructed and placed into service in the entire state. And the whole process took a period of a little over 3 years, from inception to placing the pre-treatment system in service. 3 years may seem to be a long amount of time, but in the world of engineering and certainly with some new technology development, that's a remarkable short amount of time that has had taken place. We want to be on the same cutting edge, if you will, as the city was 10 years ago with addressing the short chain PFAS, same way. Hit it head on and just keep addressing it until we find the right combination that's going to take the short chain PFAS out of our water.
I'm thankful for you guys. This is not an easy thing to do. And to your point, we have a history of dealing with this before anybody else does. We really are blessed here. Water is very important. And we're not just saying that because it's what you should say from the dais. This is a difficult situation where, as the ability to even test for contaminants comes online, we're going to have to adapt in real time. And thank God we have that PFOA money to even be able to make these changes. So I'm thankful for you guys, and as soon as possible as we can test for new contaminants, you're going to be looking for solutions to get this filtered so that everybody here stays safe and we have the cleanest drinking water anywhere. So I'm thankful for that spirit with you guys. Who was first? Was it Commissioner Giobbi?
I was.
You want to fight to the death over who gets to?
No, I just had a clarification. If you want to go
I'll
ahead,
let you go
Commissioner.
since you're going to be less than I am.
Oh. Well, this is true. Okay, I just have a clarification. So it's $330,000 for the pilot program, for them to do the pilot. The $100,000 is a grant to cover the pilot program?
Yes,
Okay, is
that's
there a
correct.
grant available for when the final cost to switch over to the resin? Because that'll be a different cost.
There very well may be.
Okay.
The main thing with grants is to keep looking for new grant opportunities, and that's something that we will continue to do.
Okay. Thank you, Peter, and I also want to commend your department for being on top of all of this and for the safety of our constituents. Thank you.
Should we be giving credit to some of the gentlemen in the department?
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Without a doubt. So
all of the people who
Would you drag them up here and give them credit, please?
It's the wood side.
I'm very blessed to have outstanding people within the U&E department here at the city. So, well, to start off with,
please do,
Mr. Mike Woodside, our superintendent of the water treatment plant. No, Mr. Woodside, he was here 10 years ago with the initial PFAS, the challenges that the city faced. And so he saw firsthand everything that was involved, and certainly what scrambling had to be done back at that time, because the regulations just tightened up practically within a couple weeks, where the city found themselves behind the 8 ball, so to speak, in a short amount of time. So again,
but to your point,
Mike's
the city
efforts
reacted before DEP or anybody else even said that it was truly an issue. We took the lead.
Yes.
We didn't wait for the state to say, hey, this is not good. We preemptively started making those changes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Forgive me.
Thank you.
Staff did that, yeah.
Mike, the safety thing.
We have great stuff.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mike Woodside, Water Treatment Superintendent. And as Peter said, I have the misfortune of being here since day one. The initial UCMR3 testing, I was the lab analyst, so I actually grabbed the samples to send to the lab. We didn't know what we were looking at. 2015, when we got the second set of samples, I was a chief operator. Again, didn't know what we were looking at. I got a call from DEP. We got the samples in July 2015 was the last set of UCMR3 samples. I got a call from DEP in February of 2016 say, hey, you have this stuff. We don't know what it is. You don't have to do anything. 2 weeks later, you have this stuff. Something's coming down the road. We don't know what's coming. 2 weeks later, you got a problem. So that was the sequence of events. So with UCMR 5, we got our first set of samples for that in October. And when I saw the short chain PFAS, like, okay, deja vu all over again. And so I sounded the alarm. I went to Peter, told him what we found. 2025, April, second set of samples, we found it again. The thing about this pilot study, it does a couple of things. first and foremost, it puts us ahead of the curves. We're ahead of everyone. But second of all is we have to notify our customers that we found this stuff in the water. So we did that with the 2024 water quality report. We have to do it again this year because we found it in 25 already. And I think it's best if we can tell our customers, hey, yes, we know we have this stuff, we're doing something about it. Here's what we're doing, as opposed to just saying we're doing something. And so I think the sentiment on the dais is that we're going to move forward with this, and I hope I'm right, because we don't want to have to answer that, well, you knew this, so why didn't you do something? When Peter mentioned earlier that we turned off wells 3 and 5, the offending wells, that's true. The problem is water moves underground. So it'll move to other wells if we don't do something to try and recapture and contain that water. And so with this pilot study.
Can I interrupt you? Would you
Sure.
I think that's an important point, is part of truly cleaning this up out of the groundwater is capturing it in these filters.
Yes.
It's not just overlooking it. We have to get this out of the water.
We got to get it out, yes. The other thing is, you just asked, someone asked Will if there are other utilities dealing with this. I spoke to a couple of utilities in Florida and one in Ohio, and they all seem to have the wait and see approach, even though they have concentrations that are much higher than ours. The problem that I've learned with wait and see is we've had that here. Peter mentioned earlier that we were the first utility in Florida to put in the treatment system. Strangely enough, we weren't the only utility in Florida that had a problem. So when we put our system online, I've had utilities come from all over the state to see what we did and ask how we did it. We're doing a resin change out tomorrow, and I have a utility coming tomorrow to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we're ahead of the curve. I'm proud of that. I'd like to stay ahead of the curve because I remember being the lab tech and on the road, I'm in the convenience store and people would say, man, I love Stuart Water. You guys are doing a great job. I haven't heard that since 2014 and I want it back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there other comments? Okay, Commissioner Clark?
Yes, with regard to Resolution 12-26, I'm looking at section number 2, of the resolution, which reads, upon approval of the budget amendment number 1, the city manager is authorized to execute a task order with Holtz Consulting Engineers, Inc. for pilot testing, evaluation of treatment alternatives, and Indian River Lagoon grant support services in an amount not to exceed $323,093.40, consistent with the city's existing professional engineering services agreement. And we have the resolution, but the actual pilot study timeline or something, you're going to be developing that? Or do we have a timeline of when it's going to be done?
Well, I can tell you that we're planning on starting in February. As far as when it's going to be completed, I could ask Dr. Levens if he has a timeline in mind.
Good evening, Will Evans again. Yeah, our proposed schedule for the pilot testing that we have scoped out is for a 6-month duration. Of
Okay.
course, there is time to get equipment mobilized, a lot of logistics just to get things set up and the staff up and going with the operations. So, there's a couple of months before that, getting everything in place, and there's also time as well after the evaluation, get all the reports in from the labs, do the assessment, and submit the draft report to Peter and his staff.
Thank you, sir.
Jolie, are you still here? Can you confirm, would you mind popping out and confirming that this is, come on down. Could you confirm that this is not coming out of the settlement money, but out of the reserves?
As I've advised the commission, there is no settlement. So this is coming out of water sewer reserves because you have an incredible finance director and there's
right.
plenty of money there.
No one had any doubt. No one had any doubt.
That's true.
Commissioner
Mayor,
Ricks.
could I ask him a follow-up question? If we were to receive the settlement,
If there
would it
was-
be appropriate
Hypothetically, if there was a settlement.
to use either the principal or the interest to pay for this type of project?
Yeah, I think it would be smart money that if there was a settlement amount, that the interest would be used. There should be a significant amount of interest to fund the kind of operations.
Right. This is
And do that.
exactly
This is exactly what it
why
would
we
be
are the
intended
bellwether
for.
and why we have the responsibility to
Yes.
move forward and continue to stay in the vanguard. Yes. Okay. So if there is a settlement in the future, those funds would be available for exactly this type of.
Thank you.
All right. Are there
Any
any other
comments?
comments?
From the,
I do have a public comment, but, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have a motion
I don't
yet,
think we,
sorry.
did we have a motion? I don't think we.
I was just about to make a motion, but I didn't, okay.
Fantastic. And then we'll have public comment.
Okay. Make a motion for Resolution 1226, the City Commission of the City of Stuart approving the Budget Amendment Number 1 for the short-term PFAS removal pilot study program.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there public comment on item number 6?
Yes, I have Robin Cartwright.
Robin?
Good evening, Commissioners. Robin Cartwright for the record. I was glad that you asked the question about the settlement, but now I'm a little confused because my question would have been, why are we not using the money from the settlement? I've asked previously the commission and the former city manager to please advise as to the settlement, the breakdown of it, when we would get it and what it could be used for. But now it sounds like we don't have the settlement, which was settled back
There
in.
is no settlement.
Can someone from the commission and/or the
This
city
gentleman.
attorney or the city finance director please advise as to why there was an announcement of a settlement then if there is no settlement?
On the tightrope.
No.
Careful.
To put a finer point on it, there are certain things like, in legal issues, there's a cone of silence and like gag orders. And since there has been no settlement officially filed with any provider of the foam or PFOA stuff, the city has no legal settlement yet to comment on publicly or otherwise. What other individuals have made about the city's legal status in these cases is obviously a misstatement. I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to tell you, this is one of those things like, did you ever see the movie Brewster's Millions? Okay, I use this analogy all the time. If he had a certain amount of time to spend money, if he failed to do what he had to do, he would lose all the money.
Yeah.
Versus he had a certain set of requirements, and if he met those requirements, he would get the money in the end. So the city of Stuart is not at liberty to discuss a settlement which has not been finalized or legal yet.
There is no settlement. Yeah. Okay. Are there other public comments?
I have no further public.
Okay. Are there comments from commissioners? All right. Seeing none, Mary, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Rich?
Yes?
Commissioner Giobi?
yes,
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Item 7, Stuart Landings.
Thank you, Water Department.
Thank you, guys. Keep up the good work.
thank you so much.
All right, just a reminder to the board. Are we taking a break?
Let's take a 10-minute recess, and then we'll get right back to
Are you
it.
going to be gone or are you going to stay?
Fast yogurt.
All right, we will reconvene the meeting.
I mean, there's cinnamon rolls.
You have to, if you like apple,
So item number 7, Lee?
it's the best.
Just want to remind the commission that this is the second reading of this ordinance. Ordinance number 2545-2026. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida for a major amendment for lot number 3 of the Stuart Landings Roman numeral 2 commercial planned unit development, also being associated with lot number 1 and lot number 2 of the Stuart Landings Roman numeral 2 CPUD, providing for an amendment to the master site plan for lot number 3 of the Stuart Landings Roman numeral 2 CPUD to accommodate a 470 square foot Coffee Rush convenience restaurant with 2 drive-through facilities and the existing 2,845 square foot Burger King restaurant and single drive-through facility, providing for an amended development conditions, a timetable for development, and master site plan approval for a parcel of land located at 3991 Southeast Federal Highway, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Do the commissioners have any ex parte communications to disclose?
I had a conversation with the previous interim manager.
I did the same. I'm here with an open mind.
I'm here with an open mind.
I spoke with the applicant at the intermission at the last meeting very briefly.
I have none, and I'm here with an open mind.
I have none. Will the development department, forgive me, direct city attorney, would you place everybody under oath?
All right. Everybody's going to be testifying in this incident. Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, I do. You may be seated.
Okay. Will the development department please provide a brief summary of the agenda item, including the location, size of property, current zoning, zoning request, and list the applicant's request to deviate from the land use development regulations?
Thank you, Mayor. You did see the presentation last time. Do you want to see the complete presentation or just go over to 2 changes that were requested?
Okay. Does the applicant wish to speak or present?
So, Mayor, if I may, the application at the last meeting, you had requested or asked the applicant to consider larger trees, and the applicant did take that comment back and did upgrade the shade trees and to a larger shade tree from your live oak was originally at 14, now it's at 16 feet planted.
There you go.
They did change out some material from a, hold on, I have to go back to sorry, I have to go to my cheat sheet, to the landscape plan. So they did, the buttonwoods that were projected, they, instead of 12 feet at planting, they're doing them at 14 feet at planting. And they did change out, like I said, the crepe myrtles to an orange Geiger, and they'll be planted at 14 feet. That gives you a little bit more color. And then the Alexander palms from 12 feet to 14 feet in height. So they did take your comments and did at your recommendation. And the other comment was the color. So they did mute the color from the gray to this earth tone that was requested, that was recommended by the LPA board. So those are some of the changes that were made. Also, we went back and looked at the outdoor seating as Vice Mayor Reed wanted to confirm the size. So after reviewing the outdoor seating, this one right now is not being proposed within the outdoor seating. The traffic report did not capture the outdoor seating. So if they are proposing any type of tables with outdoor seating, they'll have to come back with an amendment to the city to get the site plan amended showing that outdoor seating and update the study. Those are the changes that has happened since the last presentation.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could I just ask for clarification on that? I may not have understood. So right now, they're not asking for outdoor seating, But they're looking to come back once this
No.
has been approved with an amendment?
So, no, so at the last meeting, on the January 12th meeting, Vice Mayor Reed had stated that he wanted to know the overall size of the outdoor seating area, and then what did that look like, and because it showed like 700 square feet, and I think it was, had some concerns about that. So in talking with the applicant and going back and looking at the outdoor seating requirements, this particular area is not proposing any outdoor seating, which means like tables with umbrellas and everything, because the traffic report did not allocate any outdoor seating. So if they want to in the future have outdoor seating, they will have to do an amendment, administrative amendment to propose that outdoor seating and update their traffic study. And that condition has been added into the ordinance as well.
Okay, and I just have one more question, because I'm not very, they have 2 lanes,
They do, yes.
right? Are both lanes, yeah, they're going, okay, so they're not both exiting onto Federal Highway?
No, they will be exiting an internal roadway.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jody.
Do the other locations have that 700, roughly 700 square feet of outdoor seating?
We don't have another proposed location right now. There is an application house for another location, but the city of Stuart does not have a outdoor seating. If you're referring to the one in Oregon,
The other coffee rushes? Is this
this is the one in Oregon that shows today, and I will have to rely on to the applicant's representative.
Hi,
just trying to
Jason
get to-
Gunther, Thomas Engineering.
Yeah.
The 700 square foot outdoor seating was based on we did a queuing analysis to show how our drive-through facilities work. Queuing analysis was done from other stores, and I believe that's queuing analysis was taken that showed the 700 square foot of outdoor seating from a proposed store in Port St. Lucie. We are not proposing any outdoor seating at this particular location. So the reference to the 700 square foot was for the store for a queuing analysis that is not this location. It was representative of a similar store at a different location.
Did it also include a walk-up window, though?
They all include walk-up
So
windows.
it
yeah.
does have a walk-up window, but not anywhere to sit?
Correct. Over 90% of the business of Coffee Rush is drive-through. They
Okay.
do have a walk-up window for someone who's riding on a bike or in the neighborhood or may work at the adjacent retail store and wants a cup of coffee.
I'm a little disappointed to hear that there's no outdoor seating, because I do think that already this sort of thing is a little bit transactional for Stuart. I think,
Mayor, they could, if I may, they
Yes.
could go ahead and add the outdoor seating and update their traffic report administratively, if that's the will of the board. So they
that would
can.
be what I would like to see, is
Okay,
that there's somewhere for
perfect.
people to sit, so it's not purely just driving through and getting coffee. But that's my thought.
So if we could amend the motion, because there's a condition of approval into the ordinance that was added saying that they would
Okay.
have to come back as administrative order. You could amend if we could amend that condition just to state that they will work with staff and to provide outdoor seating as part of this approval process.
Okay.
We can live with that.
Okay.
For the record, there is no indoor seating either proposed.
Correct.
So the business model isn't to actually drink on premises, but we're amenable to that condition.
Nice umbrella in the sun,
We are in Florida,
Drink
so
your iced
it's not like
coffee.
Colorado. There are times you could sit outside here.
Did you want to present? This would be the opportunity for you to speak generally to the project or specifically?
We were happy with the presentation that staff gave last time.
Do commissioners have any questions for the applicant beyond what we already asked? Okay, yes, sir.
With the queuing, is it typical to have drive-throughs in opposite directions, or was it specifically designed to fit like this site plan? Or
I'll answer that
like the
from
first
my experience first, but no, in my experience, it's not typical of other, we do Chick-fil-A's, McDonald's, other
Yeah.
stores you've seen before. It's not a typical design. I think it's fairly unique to Coffee Rush's model, and it has worked for them. Again, they don't have menu boards like other restaurants have, so it's drive right up to the window and go. It's a very fast process. And the 2 windows with that fast process is actually part of their business model. I think it's convenience for the
opposite
customer.
directions, it's part of the business model?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, because the driver needs to be on the window side, so it can't work both flowing the same direction. Otherwise, you'd have to reach across your car on one side to pay and get your money. or get your coffee, excuse me.
Checkers and Stuart flows the same direction.
Yeah, because that's was my question, because now you have both
These
lanes
are
coming out onto
north and
one.
south. I was just curious. I've never seen it before, so
No, they don't.
I'm intrigued.
And with our technical deviation, I'd just like to point out, the code requires 6 queuing spaces.
Yeah, it
My
does.
understanding is that's contemplating every other drive-through is a one drive-through where you have 6 queuing
Right.
spaces. We have 2, and we're providing a total of 8, albeit 4 in each lane. So the deviation is 4. We don't have 6 in a single lane, but we do exceed the overall number of providing 8 instead of the 6.
And in your experience, this will be plenty to not cause a backup?
Based on the queuing analysis we provided, there was never witnessed any more than 5 cars total at the store. So
We may get really popular, you never know.
We love it to be
That's right.
busy.
Be a problem. That's a good
Yes.
problem. Okay. Yes.
So we just opened a store in Fort Myers, so I'm there working every day. It's my family's business.
Great.
We get cars in in and out under a minute. So we take their orders in line a lot of times. We'll walk up to you like a human, take your order, and then we'll have your coffee ready at the window. It's not transactional at all. We're so genuine. That's like my parents' mission
Fantastic.
since 1992.
I didn't mean to be disrespectful.
No, I totally get it.
My-
I mean,
my-
drive-through can be very impersonal.
My hope is that there's a place where two people can sit and talk, like,
Yeah,
it's not
and
just
some of our
grabbing coffee.
locations in Oregon do have that.
So
So we'll
I
have-
hope to see that here, if it's the will of our commission, that
I
there is
love
somewhere
our
to
foot
sit.
traffic because I get to talk to them for a while.
Fantastic.
It's very
Good.
fun for me.
Good. Fantastic. Okay, so do I have any other?
I had a question.
Yes, Commissioner
I
Jean.
just, from the last meeting, it was my understanding, some people were concerned about, you don't have one, you're going out to take the orders, or they're coming up to the window to take the orders. So there's no microphone blasting, I want 2 coffees and a donut to go. Okay, yeah, that was a concern for people, because you open early. I mean,
We open up.
right, so at 5 a.m., that,
We open at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, does the petitioner wish to offer any additional information before concluding its presentation? Speak now or forever hold your peace, okay? The presentation of evidence has ended and the hearing is closed. Does any member of the public wish to make a comment? Seeing none. All right. There's no additional, and forgive me, I'm still getting used to the yellow sheet. There's no additional remarks, right? Nobody's got any additional remarks, okay? So now I would be seeking a motion.
Mr. Mayor, with regard to ordinance number 2545, 2026, move approval of staff's recommendation, including the recommendation that if they do want to do outdoor seating, it would be brought to staff and it would be approved administratively through the development department.
Can I caveat that a little bit, that it would include
It will
the
include.
outdoor seating and that could be done administratively?
Yes,
Yes,
without obtaining a separate application through this process.
Okay.
Perfect.
yes.
I'll second the motion.
And a second, okay. Do we have clarification on the motion?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Are there comments from commissioners?
I think your website's very nicely laid out, by the way. I'm not a coffee drinker myself, but
Yeah.
I think it's very nice. Like, to navigate it, it's actually very clean.
Hey.
Some
Nice
websites
design.
are very difficult, and the options are there, at least from the website. I haven't tried like mobile or anything like that, but the website's nice.
There you go. There you go.
It's very nice.
Star.
Well done.
Okay, let's record the vote, Mary.
Mayor Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Rich.
Yes.
All right, guys.
thank you.
Looking forward to a cortado with honey.
Mr. Mayor?
Cortado.
Mr. Mayor?
Fantastic. Yes,
If I may?
sir. Yes, sir.
In light of the fact that the next 2 items are first reading, so I'll get another bite at that apple. And then the final 2 items are D and Ds. I would ask that I be allowed to leave and get on my way to Tallahassee
Yes,
to
sir.
represent the interest of
Thank
the
you
city of
Thank you
Stuart.
for your effort.
I just want to say, having attended the enormous boat show, the Stuart Boat Show, I'm fully in favor of the application for the grant. It has nothing to do with Brightline. It has to do with the ability of our boaters to get from that side of the bridge to this side.
Absolutely.
Because it's a problem. So I hope we're successful with that. And
All right, Commissioner Rich,
Thank you.
travel safely.
yes.
Good safety.
Be safe.
If you're falling asleep, just
Oh, okay.
just call Lewis, call Jolie.
Oh, Milton.
And where do you get a cup of coffee at this
He'll
time?
be up. He'll be up. Don't worry. He'll be up. Okay, so moving on to, or I'll give you a second to pack up. I won't just do you like that. All right. Godspeed, good sir.
Be careful on the road.
Item 8, code amendment adding language to reasonable accommodation.
As Commissioner Rich noted, this is the first reading of this ordinance. Ordinance number 2547-2026, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, amending Section 8.07.07 of the city's Land Development Code in compliance with recently enacted legislation, Senate Bill 954, providing for conflict, providing for codification, providing for an effective date and for other purposes. Florida Senate Bill 954 is an act relating to certified recovery residences, and it was adopted and became effective on July 1st. And in Senate Bill 954, the municipalities are required to adopt an ordinance establishing a process for requesting reasonable accommodations, which are consistent with the Fair Housing Act of 1988 and Title II of the Americans with Disability Act. Although the city already had a process in place in Section 8.07.07 of the city's Land Development Code, there were still some stuff that were identified in Senate Bill 954 that it was my opinion needed to be added. While we were in there, I felt personally that I needed to draft some edits to the code that would kind of spruce it up. So I'll be happy to go through some of these with you. So in subsection A, I had added in some additional language, and the only thing I added in there was identifying and citing to the appropriate statutory citations for the Fair Housing Act and also to the Title II of the Americans with Disability Act. In the previous code, we mentioned FHA, or Fair Housing Act, and we also mentioned the ADA, but we never actually defined what those were earlier in the code. So I just wanted to be a little bit more clear on that. In subsection C, and I had my opinion of just kind of clarifying who the request for reasonable accommodation shall be submitted to, and I said that it would be submitted to the city attorney's office. I've had a couple of these since I've been here, so they were just confused on where they send it to because our code wasn't very clear on it. Our code in C subsection 2 already had some criteria. However, Senate Bill 954 also required that we add that they are responsible for identifying the parcel identification number. That was not in our code, and the statute required that. In addition, in subsection C, I added, upon receipt, the city shall date stamp the written request for accommodation. Senate Bill 954 required that we have that in there. I will say that we had a habit of doing that regardless. The city clerk would stamp stuff when they come in. However, I'm just adding it to the code. In the next subsection C4 talks about, this is to accommodate for the Americans with Disability Act. So some applicants might need to present medical information or medical records saying this is why I need a reasonable accommodation. Some of that would be confidential. So I put in a mechanism on how to keep this confidential, and it wasn't required by Senate Bill 954, but I felt that we needed to have something in there addressing it. Subsection D, Senate Bill 954 required that we have time limits on when to respond to these applications, and so I added that. The initial response is 30 days. If we're requesting additional information, we need to do that within 30 days. A final decision or determination by the city is required to be within 60 days, and that is also spelled out in Senate Bill 954. So I put that information in there. And then in subsection G, under appeals, I put in more information about an appellate process. We talked about the magistrate earlier, and so an appeal from the city attorney's administrative determination could be appealed to the magistrate initially, and then ultimately to the court system. So I just spelled out some timelines and all. That's not required by Senate Bill 954, but I added it as my recommendation. Subsection H, which would be revocation of an approved reasonable accommodation. So Senate Bill 954 allows that we can put some of this in there, but it doesn't require it. But since it allows it, I put in some information. You know, if the city manager would have the authority to revoke a request if, for example, the applicant provided false or misleading information, the property subject to the request for reasonable accommodation has been found to be in violation of the conditions of approval issued by the city, and any applicable state or federal certification has expired. They're required to have, in the statute, for a certified recovery to have certain licensures and so forth. So if they lose their licensure, that would be a reason to revoke the reasonable accommodation. Let's see here. I also put in there an appellate process on the revocation. So if the city manager decides to revoke for one of those reasons, there's an appellate procedure through the city magistrate and then ultimately the court system. This was allowed in Senate Bill 954, but so I went ahead and added it to it and provided the process for appeal. So I put in here in subsection I that the reasonable accommodation shall be valid for 1 year, and each year the applicant has to renew it. Reason why I put that in there, this is not required by Senate Bill 954, but I placed that in there because otherwise it kind of left unopen and indefinitely. We don't want someone having an indefinite approval, so this requires them that they still need an accommodation on a yearly basis. And last but not least, Section J, that there should be no fee in connection with them making a request for reasonable accommodation. In addition, I spell out that the city is not going to be obligated to pay any of the applicant's attorney's fees if they choose to have an attorney, hire an attorney to go through that process. This, again, was not required by Senate Bill 954. I just felt that that needed to be in our code. And that ends the proposed additions to the Section 8.07.07. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this public hearing, this is the first reading, so I'm looking for a motion to transmit this to second reading, and it'll come back to you at the next commission meeting.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, for clarification, so this is for recovery residences inside the city, correct?
Well, the Senate Bill 9,
Houses?
What's that?
Is it like a halfway house?
Yeah, I mean,
Transitional house?
so the Senate Bill 954 dealt with certified recovery residences, okay? This is our request for reasonable accommodation, which most of the time we've gotten a request for reasonable accommodation, it is for certified recovery residence. If you recall the Clarity Point RPUD, we had the detox facility and recovery residential home that brought forth a development application which was denied. They then went through this reasonable accommodation process. So when I went through that process with them, that's where I thought some of these needed to be cleaned up. That is not mentioned by 954. But this, honestly, I know chickens have come up. When I worked for the city of Port St. Lucie, people were asking for reasonable accommodations to allow chickens in their backyard. So it could apply to other things, but Senate Bill 954, that the purpose of why I brought this forward was because it dealt with certified recovery residences, which is one of the reasons that you have this reasonable accommodation procedure in place.
Commissioner Giobbi?
Yes. City Attorney,
Yes.
question is, these type of facilities quite often get bought over by another facility or whatever. Do we have anything that each time that happens, or they consolidate with someone else, that they would have to reapply? I mean, as you said, so it doesn't really just continue their approval?
They would have to do it every year anyway. So
Okay.
regardless if it changes over, even if
Okay.
it's the same, I feel that a year is enough
Yes,
time.
an annual something.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes, sir, thank you. Attorney Baggett, is that resolution number 2547-2026?
This is an ordinance,
Yeah.
Mayor.
It's
an ordinance.
First reading, so I'm looking
Okay.
for a motion to transmit it to second reading.
Okay, so I just have a question.
Sure.
On the fourth line or so, the whereas clause. I don't know if I'm missing something, but normally I thought that when we have the LPA or any other group, that we would say either they vote to recommend or even put their vote or something. We just said the LPA held a duly noticed public hearing to consider the ordinance, but we didn't really say anything.
Right, it's my recollection that they recommended to adopt the changes.
Okay, I think
Am
we
I
should.
correct on that, City Clerk? Do you remember?
That's so I think we should include it.
I'll be happy to add that into the whereas, the third whereas clause. You're right, it doesn't indicate whether they voted in recommendation, but I believe that there was a recommendation.
Yeah, and I lost my spot now.
And there's nobody here from.
There was. Suse is the board
Okay.
secretary.
All right.
It was.
So the
okay.
deputy city clerk just noted that there was a vote, a majority vote to recommend the approval, the amendments to this code to you guys.
And
And I'll be happy to add that to the whereas clause if you want.
this is the first reading. I thought that we were just going to say pass it on to the next.
Well, that's
That
what
is
he's
correct.
looking
Vote on
for.
it.
He's looking for.
Yeah, I'm looking for what's called a motion to transmit it to
Okay,
second
transmit it
reading.
To the second reading.
Yes.
Please make that amendment. That's my motion.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any public comment on the motion? Seeing none. Vice Mayor?
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, and just so the public's aware, the state is requiring us to adopt this ordinance, correct?
Parts of it.
Well, we already had this code of ordinances, okay? There were certain things that I pointed out that Senate Bill 954 requires that we have in. First off, Senate Bill 954 requires that you put, if you don't have one, you got to adopt one. We already had one.
Okay.
So there was some things about our code that was mentioned in Senate Bill 954 that we don't have in our code. They're very small, just a select few, and there were other things that I've learned as being the city attorney that we should probably have that in there too. That's not required by Senate Bill 954 that I wanted to clean up in our code.
So you met their bare minimum for this Senate bill and then went above and beyond as well?
Correct, right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Clark?
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Baggett, under item number 2, it has a capital H, and then there's a big I afterwards, like, I don't know if it's a capital I or Roman numeral, like they're different font types. But whatever it is, this question has come up before as to when we approve something and the city manager moves forward and does something, we say, well, they never came back to the city commission with this thing. This particular ordinance clearly states on the revocation of an approved reasonable accommodation request, the city manager may initiate an action to revoke, and there are lots of other guidelines all the way 2, 3, 4 that refers to the city manager. And plus, in terms of language preparation, I see again where what I thought was an I, a big I, and then there's an IJ down there. So just to make sure that it's flowing in the notation of the paragraphs, that we have it correct. Did you see what I'm saying, Mr. Baggett?
So
Where it says age 2, 3, H, then big I, then there's a little I, and then double I, then there's afterwards.
There's a sub.
Yeah, the sub. Then there's a big I, then there's a sub. Is that a sub under 4 that says IJ? And then there's one up here.
If you go up, you'll see that there's an H.
So section,
Yeah, they're just the
Section-
sections. That's H. That's number 1 under H. Go down,
Is
and you're
that a
going to be
1
number.
or I?
No, that's
Okay.
a 1.
And then what's this other one?
This
Is
is
that an
I.
I?
It comes
Okay.
after the H.
they're lower Roman numeral one.
Yeah.
So you got,
There was a print difference in that H.
so under 8.07.07, I'm not drafting this completely new. It's already put in the code, and they have subsections A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
And the H should be a,
and H All right,
In print, okay.
G-H-I-J. H-I-J is what I'm adding, so H.
All right. The H needs to be,
Now, each of the alphabetical subsections have regular numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, et cetera. And under H, we do have H 1, 2, 3, and 4 also, similarly like we have in other subsections, but we had to go further. So we have under H1, we have lowercase Roman numeral 1, lowercase Roman numeral 2, lowercase Roman numeral 3, and then lowercase Roman numeral 4, because we have the 4 reasons why a manager could initiate to revoke the prior approval.
all right, so if the H is changed from italics to a regular H, and then it's the pagination, it's a pagination that messed it up. Well, that's okay, it's okay. We're good?
Okay.
Pagination and font. Thank you. So the motion is to move it forward, and you second it?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And I don't think
and
there was any public
No public comment. Commissioners, any other comments from you guys? Seeing none. Mary, would you call the roll?
Sure. Vice Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Giobi?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
I didn't say much, but I appreciate you buttoning that up,
Sure.
buttoning that up for us.
I probably wouldn't have normally just come up to do some of those changes, but since we already had to make changes anyway, I thought it was a good time.
Thank you. You're the man. Okay, so moving on to item 9, dissolution of East Stuart Historical Committee.
Okay, and again, this is the first reading of this ordinance. So I'll be looking for a motion to transmit it to second reading as well. So ordinance number 2548-2026, an ordinance of the City of Stuart, Florida, amending Part 2, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, Division 1, Section 2-28, and Division 7 East Stuart Historical Advisory Committee, Sections 2-118 through 2-121 of the City of Stuart's Code of Ordinances, by removing certain provisions related to the East Stuart Historical Committee due to dissolution, providing for the repeal of prior ordinances and resolutions, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes. And I apologize for that title, but it's a lot of different subsections in the code. The City Commission, under Chapter 166 of the Florida Statute, the City Commission is authorized to establish and adopt ordinances which are intended to serve and protect public benefit to the residents and visitors of the City of Stuart. Part 1, Article 4 of the city's charter permits the City Commission to create and establish boards and committees to serve at the pleasure of the City Commission, and the City Commission has the inherent authority to create an advisory board to provide assistance to the Community Redevelopment Agency, i.e. the CRA. The East Stuart Historical Advisory Committee, that we've also referred to, ESHAC, was originally created by the CRA for the purpose of making recommendations related to the history and culture of the historic East Stuart community. The ESHAC provided valuable insight regarding the founding residents and their contributions to the East Stuart area, including evaluating and recommending art in public places and recommendations for the integration of design components into the Martin Luther King Jr. streetscape improvements and Guy Davis Community Park Improvements Project. On February 13, 2023, via resolution number 11-2023, the City Commission found that the continuation of the ESHAC provided a public benefit to the community and created and ratified the ESHAC to continue as an advisory board. In 2024, via ordinance 2525-2024, the City Commission added the ESHAC's bylaws to the city's Code of Ordinances and to the various sections that I've already read through in the title. I'm not going to repeat it for sake of time. Throughout the year of 2025, however, the ESHAC had no meetings. They were not held because there was no need for its assistance. As a result, the City Commission has requested that the ESHAC be dissolved. In the city's Code of Ordinances, the sections that I've already identified, the ordinance proposed here is removing mentions of the ESHAC in its entirety. Normally, you could do it by resolution, but because we adopted all of the bylaws for all the advisory boards into our code of ordinances, we have to do an ordinance removing the language pertaining to the ESHAC out of our code. So that's why we have to have an amendment to the ordinance and having a first and second reading. So again, I'm looking for a motion to transmit this to second reading, and we'll come back at the next agenda, or
I'd like to
next
make a
commission meeting
motion,
to have the second reading.
I'll make a motion to move ordinance number 2548, 2026 forward to the second reading.
Is there a second? Do we have a second? We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Is there any public comment on this item?
I have no comment.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, my thoughts on this are, if we were going to do anything, one, I'd ask the advisory board members, and I think there was some confusion, I think, on why the board was established, what the goals and objectives were, and also, we're also not done with the streetscape on MLK or the Guy Davis Park improvement. So if we were going to do anything, I'd have like a sunshine date pertaining to those two items in particular, just because they're not finished. I know Panal, I believe, said they were 60% designed for the streetscape on MLK. But those are my thoughts on it. I think it's hard to gather 100 years of history in 2 years. But I understand why it's being discussed because of the whole sunshine. Like, we're very familiar with sunshine. And, you know, is it a benefit by having the board with the liability with the sunshine laws? I don't know if Lee can touch on what could potentially happen if there are sunshine violations from advisory board members, Lee?
I don't have firsthand knowledge. I was just hearing this hearsay.
Yeah.
But my understanding is some of the advisory board members on the ESHAC were concerned. They wanted to meet, you know, in an informal setting to discuss stuff at East Stewart. And because they were on the same advisory board, the ESHAC, they could be violating sunshine by engaging in those conversations if more than one person from the board is present. So I think you're wanting to have community involvement in it, and especially when they don't meet for a whole year. So we were getting guidance to dissolve because it appeared that what the initial need is no longer the case, as they've gone through those two projects, the streetscape and the park. And I don't know if there are any other issues that will come up in the future. I'm not sure, but I think that's why, if that helps discuss the issues of the sunshine, the advisory board members didn't want to violate the law.
Yeah, and like, in reality, is there a true, like, is there damages, I guess, for advisory boards with sunshine? I know there's, if I do it, I get in big trouble.
They could too. It's a
An
crime.
advisory board, it use the same weight.
It's a crime.
In Florida statute, anybody who's
Yes, and a fine.
who's an extension of us
Right.
falls in that same, anybody that's performing, that's been like a subordinate role has been given to them, that authority through us.
So in theory, I mean, the board members could almost accomplish the same thing if they held a meeting here without even having a ESHAC board.
Can I give context to this?
Yeah.
I was talking to Albert about this too. I think what the goal is truly is to have like a NAC, like an neighborhood advisory committee.
And they can do that without the city then.
There was frustration that they can't meet. We don't have any meetings scheduled for them. It's just sort of a liability. And to my understanding, that's already starting to happen, is, you know, their ability to get together and start to hash things out to ultimately bring to us if there is an issue. But like the streetscape may or may not even, you know, have anything to do with ESHAC, because there's no historical information to procure out of, you know, so it's just kind of putting people in a position where they're at risk with no upside. You know,
I'm torn, I guess. Like, I
Mr.
see some
Mayor.
board members. I hope the discussion's good at least
Well, you're gonna
by
take
us
longer
doing
than I will.
this.
I'll be
So the
quick.
board members are familiar with with what's going on. I don't know if the board members are familiar with an NAC board that is trying to be created in East Stewart, or if that's the first you've heard of it. I don't know.
You have to.
So the difference would be, instead of us putting people on a board to represent East Stewart could decide who is involved in that board on their own. They wouldn't be subject to us, and then ultimately, that group could bring to us their thoughts for policy or whatever we're doing. You know, because that was one of the frustrations too, is everybody who's even on this board living in East Stewart? You know, so that would not be, it would be outside of the city.
I'm going to, because I spoke to Mrs. Brinkley. Yes. And just to let you know, Commissioner Reed, back in October, November, I spoke to Mrs. Brinkley, and I've also spoken to Mr. Brinkley, and would give them a larger scope if they were a committee of a community committee, rather than something that comes under the sunshine, under the guidance of this commission. And I think the mayor and myself have offered to help them set up this committee, which would have a wider scope for them. You could not only address the issues with the Historical Society, you could also address other issues within the community that you could bring together as a group to the commission. And you all can set your own schedule, talk about the things you want to speak about, and not have to be directed by us as to when to meet and what you can say.
Right.
Okay, I think that when we created the Historical Advisory Committee, it had very discrete tasks. It's there in the ordinance. And yes, it's difficult for the members, as it is difficult for us or anybody who operates in a sunshine committee. And it's something that needs to get used to. The fact that they didn't have a meeting during 2025, I know that they had prepared and had staff was working on the website and gathering information. There's more information that's continuous and still needs to be gathered. That is one concern. However, I think it can be done in other ways. And then if there's a will to move forward and keep the committee, if we can keep it and people operate in the sunshine, fine. Other than that, I think they still need an official voice. I know that we're saying they can go off and do their own. Traditionally in East Stewart, there has been concerned citizens of East Stewart, and they've been around a long time. I think during Mr. Christie's time, I don't know how active they are or how official they are as a formed Florida corporation or as a 501c corporation. I don't think that they are. But there's ACES. ACES is African American Citizens of East Stewart. That is a viable, very active, good organization, and they have been working with the community, and they have a 501c3, and they can provide leadership and work with the community. If the community wants to form another group again, and to bring ideas to our commission or ideas for the community, I know that I've had lots of town hall meetings in East Stewart area, and even though sometimes some are productive, some may not be as productive. I think the last couple of years we've spent a lot of time with the zoning changes when we were working with that. But I just think that ACES is there, and if new groups need to be formed, but we have members of the actual committee here that can speak up. And if it's about money, if we have to advertise a meeting and people come to a meeting and still speak because they're gathering data and they just want to sit around a table and talk about something, or how they would approach a vignette, or how they would approach gathering video information, then that's something that can be advertised and they can sit and do that. They did change leadership on the committee, and I think that kind of created a little bit of a momentum change with the committee in 24 And then, of course, in 25, like you said, we didn't have a meeting. And maybe, I was working closely with them and with Pinal, and I think that Jordan and Pinal were gathering information and working on their part, and the committee had done their part. We just need to know if it's the will of the community to maybe continue with this, but again, if the sunshine is an issue, and there was issues about if people live in the community consistently, or if they just have property or have a history in the community, or if they, if they're, if they need to be a part of the committee. So that's it. But I think if there's no lack of community groups. The churches are there. The ACES is there as a community group. And if people want to form an individual group on their own, it can be done, but people still need to have, I think this committee saw themselves as a voice that was coming directly to the city. I think some people misconstrued what they should be bringing or what they should be doing, but there's no misconstruing what the ordinance asked people to do. It was stated in the ordinance what the purpose of the committee was.
Yeah, I was just seeing if any of the board members that sit on that board had any comment on anything that we've discussed. But right
Mr.
now,
Harvey?
there's a motion on the floor to transmit it to the next meeting.
Oh, let's come on. You can fill out a green, sorry. Mayor, sorry.
Philip Harvey, citizen of Martin County. I was on that committee, and when I got on, I was told that we was going to be dealing with history, and I found out it was not, because we could not communicate. And now that I hear some of the reasons why, and I hope that you all give the East Stewart community an opportunity to work together in an organized manner so that we can accomplish some of the historical elements that took place in the East Stewart community, how it helped Martin County grow, Stuart, Florida grow. And we just need your help and a little bit of guidance to keep us going.
And there are several commissioners here who have offered to help, other than under the city limits, to be able to help you set up the committee you need and how to make the scope larger for the whole community and still include the historic piece.
Okay, well, we're willing to work with you. Any other, could I ask?
No, I appreciate it, Phil.
Okay.
And like I said, I plan on doing town halls as well every quarter. I did one recently at 10th Street. I'm going to try to do one once a quarter.
Okay.
And I'll bounce back and forth. And I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Some people have my cell number.
But just take the sunshine law out of it, because that scares people, because we can't communicate. And
It scares me. Why do you think I don't talk to anyone up here? They're all blocked, by the way. Because I've been accused of communicating with certain board members, and I've proved it time after time that they're blocked.
Yeah.
And yes, I've been in that position, and it has been by online bloggers, is what I call them. And it's disgraceful, because I take this position very seriously. Why would I put my reputation, being, Martin County local as well, be thrown in jail or prison for violating sunshine? That would be silly on my part for $18,000 a year.
Yeah, that's
It's
where I
not
felt.
worth it to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any other board members have comments that sit on the board currently. But thank you, Phil.
Oh, I think we do have another comment.
Good evening. My name is Pearlie Clark, and I was, sorry about that. I'm going to say this. I prefer, just me personally, prefer if we have a neighborhood advisory group. I would love to see our community work together without depending on others so heavily and make decisions about our own community. There are things that we would like to do that we can do on our own, fix up the place, clean up the place. But we can do that, but we know where to go if we need support. So the sunshine law is bad because my neighbors are on the committee and we talk. And we talked before we got on the committee.
Yeah.
So that would be a burden for us. But this is my my thought. I prefer not to be on the committee.
Thank you, Pearlie. And for anyone that wants my cell number, if you want to write it down, you can call me. It's 772-247-4772.
Dr. Grant, do you have anything? I know that you had did you act as a leader? I'd like you to come up, Dr. Grant.
Kim Grant. I didn't serve too long. I came in on the tail end of I like the concept. I like the idea of having voices of East Stuart. I guess I came in and I was not quite clear on the purpose. I thought we would have more bite. So with the history, I agree with we need to preserve the history of East Stuart. I'm concerned that as a neighborhood advisory council, the impact that we would have if we came to you with different ideas or suggestions, how would it be brushed off or would it be taken to heart and listened to? So I want something that's going to reflect the community and where the commissioners are actually going to listen and hear what we're coming to you with and not take it lightly, actually put some time in. So I like the town halls. I was not able to attend the last one, but to actively participate in East Stuart, get to know the residents, and take our concerns to heart. So that's what I'd like to see. I'm not sure if that'll be done through the East Stuart Advisory Committee or if it's the neighborhood, whatever is going to be more effective.
Did somebody want to address that?
What was that?
She's not sure. In other words, I don't know that she realizes they would be making up their committee and deciding who's on it and how to approach us.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a sanctioned, okay, so I made up the neighborhood advisor committee for the county through the CRA a long time ago when we were working on those. They have one in Salerno, Jensen Beach, whatever, all these communities have a NAC. And so if they want to have an NAC with guidelines and deal with procedures, but it's not something that would be sanctioned through us, they would have to make it up as their own nonprofit group, do whatever. And that's why I said ACES is there. The community can come together and use ACES in order to bring things, or it can provide leadership to bring ideas if people needed to do something. There's another option that has been brought up before through the Concerned Citizens for East Stuart, and that is to develop a community development corporation to spearhead redevelopment. But again, that is something that a group of people, whether they're business people, interested stakeholders, they come together and they form that CDC, they manage it, they run it, and if they need to apply or get grants or partnership with the city, they have to do all of that.
Okay, any other comments? We had a motion and a second.
I've had a motion in a second.
So we'll come back with it again? I mean, the same language is going forward, that it would be dissolved at the next meeting? That's what you're asking to go forward?
Transmitting it to the next one.
Yeah, that was the motion. It's submitted to the
Would
second.
you call the
reading.
roll?
Commissioner Giobi?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
I want to say no.
All right. Item 10, discussion and deliberation.
We'll work it through.
Commissioners, this item is, I have discussed with each of you individually, but just for the benefit of the meeting and the record. So previously, prior to me being the interim city manager or anything, the city had applied for, as a co-applicant with Florida Inland Navigational District, and been awarded the MEGA grant, which was approximately $130 million. And that was related to this project to replace the 100-year-old train bridge. And the project couldn't move forward until all the financing was in place. And so several weeks ago, Florida Inland Navigational District approached me and said, we have an opportunity to co-apply again for an FSP grant, which would fill the remaining gap of about $78 million. Unfortunately, this began back during the Biden administration, and so some of the original grant projects that we expected to receive to fund the train bridge project went to other governments and entities. Then at the beginning of the Trump administration, a lot of the grants were reset. And so there's been some staff changes. And so the other day, after commission action and FIND both took action to adopt and approve us applying for the $78 million FSP grant, we submitted that paperwork to FRA, the Federal Rail Administration. And whereas the previous staff had said, oh, you can have the MEGA grant and the FSP, that'd be great. After we submitted the application, they said, you can't stack two grants like this. So there's been a number of calls and meetings between them, and what we're waiting on right now is for FRA to make a ruling that they would still accept the City of Stuart and Florida Inland Navigational District stacking two grants together to pay for the bridge project as part of the funding pieces. Unfortunately, that decision is going to be between two city commission meetings, and the deadline to apply for the grant will be February 7th, our next meeting being February 9th. So we haven't received that ruling from FRA yet. Your options are either A, they say okay and we go forward with what's been approved, or the other option is if FRA says, no, you need to do something different, then the plan that we tentatively have is to forego the MEGA grant because we haven't pulled down a single dollar of it yet because we didn't have any of that total funding in place, and then to instead apply for the whole $200 million in FSP grant instead. So this is just an option where I need to inform you because I'm not sure yet to have it on an agenda item on what's going to happen ultimately, but this is just our goal to try and get that train bridge project started to replace that bridge. If you have any questions, I would entertain them.
Thank you, Jolie. I guess my question is, you're saying the 6th is the deadline, but the 9th is our next. Is there some emergency that we can have?
You could convene a special meeting of the commission, but you have a very busy schedule coming up with we referred to the fast and furious schedule of getting a new city manager on board. You're going to have a number of special meetings and stuff coming up, so.
Right. But funding the bridge is quite an important item.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I can't speak for the other commissioners, but if we had to come in for another special meeting to get that funded, that's most important.
Yes, ma'am. Those of us involved in the project, we feel like we're going to prevail and just go forward like we originally planned. So, of course, if the FRA suddenly tells us, maybe tonight or tomorrow or something, the FRA says, no, we're not going to let you stack the grants, I'd start the notification process to the city manager and thereby to the commission after that.
Okay.
We're hoping it just continues as we all originally planned. So.
Sounds good, Jolie. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Moving on to item 11.
All right, this one's mine. And so at the December 8th, 2025 commission meeting, Ms. Janine Alexander had came before you during public comment, and wherein she had alleged various issues that she had in the past with the city's police department and with other city staff. At the time, the commission had asked me to provide some background from the city's perspective to which I could not because the allegations that she was alleging occurred over 10 years ago and long before I got here. So I didn't feel competent enough to even provide you with a summary of any of those events because I wasn't involved in it. So I asked for some additional time, and you asked me to come back in the future and provide you with some information as far as the background from the city's perspective. Since December, I've had to review a large number of police incident reports, lawsuits, emails, and other documentations, and I've attached some documentation to the agenda item. And I guess the question is, what do you put in and what do you leave out, kind of thing. I mean, there's a large number of records that I could have attached, but I tried to limit to what I thought were the meat and potatoes of it. I'm going to provide you with a background summary of what I outlined and uncovered when I started reviewing all this stuff. And again, there could have been a lot more added to what I'm telling you. There was a lot more to it. I just, again, had to make the decision what to put in and what to leave out. So back on February 27, 2015, multiple Stuart police officers were dispatched to a disturbance at Dennis Gallus's residence at 2600 Southeast Ocean Boulevard in the Vista Pines community. Miss Alexander also lived in the same community. At or recently about that time, Miss Alexander and Mr. Gallus had ended a romantic relationship. The two of them were in a verbal altercation in his condo on that day, and an elderly female neighbor must have heard the altercation and came to Mr. Gallus's condo to check on him. The elderly neighbor and Miss Alexander got into a physical altercation. Upon being interviewed by police officers, Mr. Gallus and his elderly female neighbor confirmed that Miss Alexander was asked to leave the apartment and that she pushed the elderly neighbor down to the ground. Officers noted an open wound on the elderly neighbor's face. I'm just not mentioning her name, but she is deceased since this event. But at the time, the elderly neighbor did not want to press charges because she feared that she would be retaliated against by Miss Alexander because they also live in the same neighborhood. However, Mr. Gallus wanted Miss Alexander trespassed from his condo at the time. During the incident that night, Mr. Gallus captured video footage on his cellular phone. Investigating officer Noen Vo, I'm butchering his name, who's no longer with the police department, reviewed the video footage on Mr. Gallus's phone and observed Miss Alexander being asked to leave and grabbing the arm of the elderly neighbor. Officer Vo requested Mr. Gallus to send him the video via email. The initial video file sent by Mr. Gallus was too large and it didn't make it to Officer Vo's email and it had to be resent. At this point, there's a discrepancy as to how much video footage was taken that day on the cell phone. A video placed into evidence by Officer Vo was 54 seconds, which Officer Vo contended was the only video footage that he viewed and received from Mr. Gallus. Years later, Mr. Gallus confirmed that there may have been additional footage, and this is involving a civil lawsuit between Miss Alexander and Mr. Gallus. He confirmed that there may have been additional footage, but it had since been deleted. If there was any additional video footage, it was never obtained by the police. Before Officer Vo could interview Miss Alexander at the scene that night, she had a panic attack and was taken via ambulance to the emergency room. Officer Vo later went to the emergency room to interview Miss Alexander. On March 7th, 2015, over a week later, the elderly neighbor contacted Officer Vo and changed her mind and wanted to pursue criminal charges for battery against Miss Alexander. On March 7th, 2015, the same day, Officer Chris Heitfeld was dispatched to the neighborhood in reference to a suspicious incident. Officer Heitfeld spoke to 3 residents of Mr. Gallus's community, and each of them reported receiving a phone call from an unknown female police officer of the Stuart Police Department. Each of the residents were questioned about the initial incident from this unknown female officer. Officer Heitfeld affirmed that there was no female police officer investigating this incident. He then made contact with Miss Alexander, who confirmed that she had called the individuals in the community, but only related to available real estate because she was a realtor. But she denied impersonating an officer. Officer Heitfeld did not believe her and sought an arrest warrant for Miss Alexander on the charge of impersonating a police officer. On March 11, 2015, Officer Vo went to Miss Alexander's residence and She refused to open her front door. Instead, she dialed 911 and requested fire rescue due to having another panic attack and reported that she was suicidal. Ms. Alexander told dispatch that she was suicidal and consumed multiple pills. Ms. Alexander told fire rescue that she took the pills to avoid being arrested. She was taken to the emergency room and subsequently Baker acted by the hospital staff. After 24 hours, Stuart police served a warrant for Ms. Alexander's arrest on charges of battery against an elderly person at the hospital, and she was transported to the Martin County Jail. At the time, Ms. Alexander sought from the police and the state attorney's office to bring charges against Mr. Gallus and his elderly neighbor for false imprisonment and battery. However, the police and the state attorney's office declined. On April 10, 2015, Officer Zachary Pecci was dispatched to the lobby of the police department to meet Mr. Gallus. Mr. Gallus reported that the night before, his right front tire of his vehicle was cut and slashed. Mr. Gallus alleged that it was Ms. Alexander. However, Officer Pecci concluded that there was not enough evidence to say one way or another and closed his investigation. On April 13, 2015, the police were dispatched to the same community due to an alleged violation of a trespass order by Ms. Alexander. While officers were there, Ms. Alexander called 911 to make a complaint about the officers and to request another officer to her residence. She was asked to hang up from 911 dispatch, and she declined. Ms. Alexander was arrested again for misuse of 911 and resisting arrest without violence. On May 22, 2015, Ms. Alexander pled no contest to the following criminal charges: falsely impersonating an officer, battery on an elderly person, uttering a forged bill, check, or draft, and resisting officer without violence. In the plea of no contest, she acknowledged that she was giving up her right to a trial and to confront her accusers, and I think this was an important act taken by Ms. Alexander. On February 6, 2016, so now a year later, Mr. Gallus and his new girlfriend met at Sam's Club in Port St. Lucie and parked their vehicles in separate rows. Upon returning to the vehicles, both of their vehicles were vandalized, only their vehicles. Although Mr. Gallus alleged that it was Ms. Alexander, only an incident report was created by the Port St. Lucie PD, and the investigation was closed. Next month, on March 4, 2016, Mr. Gallus reported to police that he was sent an anonymous Valentine's Day card and believed that it came from Ms. Alexander. If Ms. Alexander had sent such a card, it would have violated her no contact order and violated her probation. However, this was not able to be proven, and the investigation was closed. The next week, on February 12, 2016, Ms. Alexander presented to the Stuart Police Station, met with an officer, Sudhoff, and alleged the following: that she was falsely arrested a year earlier, that Mr. Gallus and the Stuart police officers tampered with the evidence, and that would be reducing the amount of video footage, and that Mr. Gallus and his elderly neighbor gave false statements and were the aggressors in the incident. A report was taken and provided to the state attorney's office for review. The state attorney's office declined to press charges based on not finding probable cause. On March 16, 2017, so another year later, the state attorney's office denied moving forward with the charges of tampering with evidence. It should be noted that there was never any allegation from Ms. Alexander that the video footage of the 54-second was altered in any way. She only alleged that there was additional footage that never saw the day of light. In December of 2017, so going now forward another 9 months, Ms. Alexander renewed her complaint on the tampering with evidence allegations. And then a month later, on January 4, 2018, Ms. Alexander met with Officer Buchanan of the Stuart Police Department and complained again that the video provided to the police in 2015 was tampered with, and there was much more on the additional video footage. She produced a text message from Mr. Gallus indicating that he took a 7-minute video on his phone that night. Officer Buchanan spoke to Officer Vo, and Officer Vo reported that he only viewed a 54-second video on Mr. Gallus's phone 3 years earlier, and the file was too large to email. Officer Vo assisted Mr. Gallus in emailing him the video from the phone. The 54-second video was submitted into evidence. Officer Buchanan spoke to Mr. Gallus about the video footage. Mr. Gallus thought that it was possible that he recorded more than one 54-second video that night on his phone. However, he did not recall one totaling 7 minutes. and he was uncertain why he stated such in a text to Miss Alexander. He further stated that any video footage taken that night has been deleted from his phone. In Officer Buchanan's investigation, he spoke to Miss Alexander multiple times. Based on Officer Buchanan's investigation, he concluded that there was no probable cause that Mr. Gallus tampered with the evidence, more specifically that the 54-second video used to convict Miss Alexander was not altered in any way prior to Officer Vo viewing such. In addition, her claims of being kidnapped or falsely imprisoned could not be substantiated. Miss Alexander persisted with her complaints at the recommendation of prior City Attorney Michael Mortel. Miss Alexander submitted a written complaint for an internal investigation to the then City Manager David Ross, and that was on February 8th, 2018. So now we're 3 years later, again from the initial incident. The former City Manager Ross tasked our Human Resource Director, Roz Johnson, sitting to my left, with investigating the complaint. Ms. Johnson concluded in writing that there was no evidence that the 54-second video was tampered with, and internal police policies on evidence were not violated. Subsequent to that, the former City Manager David Ross affirmed her conclusion and decided to take no further action. Going forward, 5 more months in July of 2018, Ms. Alexander filed a civil lawsuit against the Stuart Police Department, several officers, and the State Attorney's Office. In the lawsuit, she alleged that Officer Vo tampered with evidence, that Officer Vo and the other officers were negligent in their duties, that she was battered by excessive force by officers, and that the Stuart Police caused intentional infliction of emotional distress. I'm doing math in my head, so 8 months later, the court dismissed the lawsuit against all defendants. On March 6, 2019, so a little over about, I guess, a few weeks later, she filed a second lawsuit in federal court against the city, the police department, and multiple police officers, and I believe some city staff. In her complaint, she alleged that the defendants committed numerous violations of her constitutional rights under federal and Florida state law. I'm doing math again. 6 months later, the federal district court entered an order dismissing her case against the defendants. 2 years later, Ms. Alexander filed a second federal lawsuit against the city, the police officer, multiple individual officers, and individual staff members. In her complaint, she alleged that the defendants committed numerous violations of her constitutional rights under federal and state law. And then 5 months later, a year and 5 months later, the federal court entered an order dismissing the second case against all defendants and entered a final judgment against Ms. Alexander and closed out the case. I want to point out that the city's insurer has spent approximately $45,000 in legal fees in defending the various 3 different lawsuits filed by Ms. Alexander. What I did attach to the agenda item was Sergeant Charles Buchanan's internal investigation, which I addressed from 2018, Ms. Johnson's investigation summary report in April of 2018, along with the City Manager Ross's affirmation of her decision to take no further action, the first lawsuit in state court, the second lawsuit in federal court, and the third lawsuit in federal court. Again, I had to make a decision what to leave in and leave out. There are thousands of other pages we could go through, but I felt those are like the meat and potatoes of what you should or need to see, supporting what I just told you. Ms. Alexander has alleged the following: that she has been denied due process in the submission of a citizen's complaint. She has asked for a hearing before the SIRB board, and that means that's an acronym for the Stuart Independent Review Board. And I'll address that in a second. She's also has had no closure or financial settlement from the city. She's looking for financial settlement from the city, and I think she's communicated that to me in email since then. And she is also alleging that the city and/or Dennis Gallus had concealed the 7-minute video. That seems to be the crux, that there was a 7-minute video. And lastly, she's alleged that the city has failed to respond to her public records request. I'll address that in a minute as well. I want to go back on the SIRB, or the Stuart Independent Review Board. In the past, the city had the SIRB board, and it was an advisory board consisting of 5 members, appointed one each by each of the commissioners.
And it was a civilian board reviewing internal investigations of our law enforcement personnel. They didn't have any binding authority. They weren't even allowed to take evidence. They would just review what the police department's internal affairs and what the city manager, if the city manager was involved, any action taken against the officer, they would just simply review the documents in the case and give an opinion. But after, I think it was in 2024, there was a House Bill 601. The state of Florida preempted municipalities from creating civilian review boards concerning the receipt, processing, or investigation of complaints against law enforcement under the Police Officers Bill of Rights. And that was Florida Statutes sections 112.531 through 535. Florida Statutes 112.531 through 535. That's called it's the Florida Police Officers Bill of Rights. As a result, we dissolved the SIRB and removed the board's bylaws from our code via city ordinance, just like we were just about to do with that. We're on to the second reading on the ESHAC board. Thus, we cannot hold an SIRB hearing for Ms. Alexander because that board has been dissolved. Furthermore, the Police Officer Bill of Rights prevents the city from having any civilian hearing or review board concerning disciplinary action against police officers, including the city commission. So we can't do that. So the statute preempts it, and we're not allowed to do it. It has parameters on what can be done on an internal affairs type of complaint and how that's handled. And I can only say that, I can't say for certain, but my thought is that the reason why they do that is a police officer Bill of Rights, when they have an internal investigation, they're allowed to have the union present, they're allowed to have an attorney present, and they get their due process. So by having a secondary civilian review board, they're duplicating, and they have to defend themselves twice. And so that's why, in my opinion, why the state preempted this, because it was popular to have a bunch of municipalities that started having all these civilian review boards created throughout the state. I want to reiterate that she has had multiple internal investigations by city's officers and human resources, and she has filed 3 separate lawsuits which have been reviewed by various courts and judges, and each of them have been dismissed. Lastly, she has alleged that the city has failed to respond to her public records request. I conferred with the city clerk, and Ms. Alexander has made, I think, about 12 public records requests, and the city clerk has responded timely and provided said documents. Some of the requests were closed for lack of payment. Some of them were a significant amount, and we required payment to review and produce the records, and they just weren't paid. Others, Ms. Alexander failed to follow up, and some were demanding improper responses to the request. For example, this is something that I handled. So she was demanding that each document produced by the city clerk be certified. So each page had to be certified for her clemency application that she was making. So I started in October of 2023, and back in December 2023, I believe she came to a city commission meeting and raised some of these similar issues, and that's why I thought it was right when I first got here. But I went back on my emails, and I sent her an email addressing this certification in the clemency application. I attached a standard application for clemency by email. And the standard clemency application requires that the court documents be certified when they're attached to the application, which would be obtained from the clerk of courts, not from the city clerk. And so the documents received from the city clerk were not court documents. They were internal affairs type documents. So the application didn't require that the cities be certified, but it required that the courts, from the clerk of courts, documents be certified. And I addressed that in December of 2023, and I did not hear back from her on that. So those were the issues that she raised last commission meeting. This is a summary of my review of looking through various documents, and so that concludes my providing you with a background on her complaint, and I'm available for any questions. If I can answer them, great. If not, I might have to get back to you.
I appreciate you taking the time to go through this, to provide us a comprehensive No, this is just a discussion item. we had asked our attorney to review for us the nature of the case. So it's just a discussion item.
I consider this fair. I think I deserve a little. He's had 8 total cases to run through and run rampant with some misrepresentation. And I actually have some documents that should have been attached to the tampering case that were emailed to Derek Hurtado and Officer Stuart. Proof of injuries the evening of the event dated from the ER where the
So, hey, Janine, hold on. The nature of this discussion is not to litigate the case. It was just to have Lee review for us, because there are new commissioners up here who were not familiar with the case, to go through the timeline of, so that we're all familiar. Again, the purpose was not to litigate. I'm sure, if you have a copy, I'm sure you, okay, fantastic. Yeah, you can give that to the clerk.
What would be the purpose of taking?
Was this the same one that you had emailed me?
I'm very proactive. I think you all consider that after that evening, February 27th, 2015, I sustained injury. The ER doctors documented your law enforcement officers failed to follow protocol.
Not a microphone.
741.
Again, we're not litigating.
I
Janine.
understand that you're not litigating, but I'm going to tell you there's a whole lot more to the story than what he was saying.
I understand.
I understand this in years.
Yeah, if you wanted to just skip for those documents. So, Commissioner
My
Clark,
commitment to this doesn't stop this evening.
I understand.
Michael Martell was terminated, and I believe was caused on December, I don't know his termination date. But it,
Janine, we're not taking public, we're not taking,
tenancy application, he continued to deny.
Janine, please,
Legal advice.
Janine,
He was, anything.
you're gonna have to be escorted out of here if you're not gonna follow the rules. Please.
And I'll leave
Please.
voluntarily.
You don't have to leave, just follow the rules. We're not doing public comment.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor.
Your mic,
On,
your mic.
my mic, sorry, I thought you were saying, floor. Okay, thanks, I'm the only one who has a light on, thank you. So, Mr. Baggett.
That's right.
I'm going to just run rampant and ask a whole bunch of questions, and I hope I don't sound crazy. So you don't even have to answer them. I'm just going to talk, okay? So I thought that and I'm glad that you went back to what, 11 years or something? 11 years?
It's been 11 years.
11 years. Okay, so I'm going to say something about that too. But on this particular matter, I thought that one of the big reasons, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I've read a lot of things and I've looked at it. I thought that, let's say, for example, someone is applying for clemency, the felony pardon, and the governor's office or whoever it is tells them you need to submit A, B, C, D, E certified copies or whatever. I thought that one of the issues and one of the glitches that we had in this matter was that this particular individual had a request to the city, please provide me a copy of A, B, C, D, E, such as a police report or whatever it is, or a video or something. And if they got that, they would put it with their packet and they would send it back to the governor. I didn't think that we were litigating anything or trying to do anything, so that's my one thing. What is it that she needs from us exactly? And is it that fits with the requirements that she needs to fill for her clemency? And is it something that we can give her? If there was something from the time of Dave Ross or whoever, somebody behind, let us know. And if it's something we can give her on the public records request and she needs to get it, fine. If it's something that the city has. I understand, I think, I know if it's with her or with other cases, sometimes people think that we're the court. We're not the court. So we don't give certified copies of whatever it is, certain things. The clerk might give a copy of something that they haven't said, these are the minutes for that meeting, and I'm not sure how the clerk provides that to make sure that it's a bona fide copy to the person. But whatever the clerk does, I'm sure that's what they do under legal advice. But if it's something that comes out of the court, the 19th Circuit or any other court circuit, then it comes from them. So that brings me into the court system. I want to ask Mr. Baggett, us not being a tribunal body dealing with this specific truth of the matter content of her case, are we in any type of procedural posture here with her case at all, or are we just supposed to be supplying her with some requested information? We're not relying on any detail or making any decision regarding her case. And we've had this case, this 11-year, we've had other cases where people have gone through this process, this legal process with appeals and coming back and forth, and after so many times of appeals through the court system, they end up coming right back to the original city council and saying, somehow we need some kind of we need you to give us address. You need to address our issue that we have, and you need to give us I don't know, I guess an answer. And we're not the court of law. If somebody has taken something from the city and appealed it through the court of law, that's where that goes. But apparently the answer is, can the city still do something for us, whether it's to give us property back, or give us a proper deed, or give us whatever. But because it's out of the hands of the city, I don't know what we need to do. Since it's up and we're talking about it and we want to be frank and transparent, the procedural posture is not with us, it's with the appeal court. And if she does need a document from the city, if we can find it, we can give it to her. If we can't find it, we respond just like we would with any other public records requests. We have searched our records and we're not able to find so and so. Now apparently there might be some controversial thing that, yes, you say that you can't find this officer's report or that person's report, but I know that it's there. I'm not, there are lots of ways to try to deal with that, but I'm not sure why something which I consider simple, as somebody saying, I need a copy of a police report, or I need these 2 or 3 things from the city so that I can add it to my pile of stuff to send to the clemency board in order to get myself situated and to claim and to clear my name. I'm not sure where all this appeal and all these other things got involved with it, and I'm thinking you're telling us that you're not sure either, because there are a lot of things that were from a long time ago. I'm not sure why we have, it's kind of unique to us that we've had this where it's been going on with certain cases, and they go through the court system and the appeal system and they come right back to us. But I think this is a very unique case. To me, it's an easy case where somebody's requesting a document from the city. Either the city has the document or they don't have the document, and I'm not sure where else we get involved with it.
That was a lot.
We're not, again,
We're discussing.
just discussing.
So I looked at the Florida clemency application, and it said court documents need to be certified. So you mentioned a deed.
It's a court, yeah.
You can go get a certified copy of a deed or a certified copy of a final judgment. That's done by the courts, the clerk of court regularly. So we don't do certified copies here like the clerk of court does. But Mary did stamp it and certify that these were actual copies from the city, in response to a request. But again, the application requires that court documents be certified, not
That's the clerk.
not a police report, not an
Right.
internal email from Joe. She's requested a large number of documents. So if we got served with a subpoena, the clerk would do an affidavit or saying certify that these records are from the city and we're kept with the city. That way we don't have to go to court and authenticate the documents. We've done that before. So she did something similar to that and provided it. I know that she was upset because Mike didn't bring hard copies of documents to the courthouse one time. I think he brought a flash drive with the documents, which that's not uncommon if there's 10,000 pages, you know.
Not when the court asks for hard.
So I'm just giving examples. So I don't, there's an obvious disconnect, but we have produced records multiple times. She sent more public records requests to me. I think I got 20 emails in the last couple of weeks, and a couple of them were public records requests. I forwarded them to Mary, and she said, she's already requested this, and we've responded. So I don't know what's, I don't know what's, you know, is still out there or what is needed, but we've produced everything multiple times at this point. There were times where she didn't pay for it. There were times she didn't come and get them, even though we said they're here. Mike gave them to her on a flash drive, whether they're not hard copy or not. They were provided to her. I don't know what else the city can do. As far as the litigation, I mean, there was a criminal case. She pled no contest and spent time in jail, from my understanding. That was over.
365
All right.
days.
You hear it from her. And then she filed 3 lawsuits against us, and we've litigated for years, and they're over. They were dismissed. So I don't know what else there is to do. She can't, I mean, she can come back at public comment, but the cases are over.
Yes,
I mean,
can I continue, Mr. Baggett?
Sure.
So you brought up something good. So there's no existing case with us, so it's not like we have to have this meeting in a shade meeting or anything, and Ms. Alexander herself has come here and asked for this information in public. But this question of looking for settlement, what is there a settlement to be made a settlement about if there is no lawsuit that has any judgment, or what is, can you clarify that, please? What is the settlement being sought for, and on what basis?
I've seen records, and I believe she sent me an email wanting to be compensated. She's reiterated it, that she wants to be compensated, that she suffered damages. But that's what you take you redress it in the court system. She has 3 times and lost all 3 times. So I don't know what else there is to do for the case, the civil cases that she's filed against. I mean, it's against the city's police officers and city staff. I think you were a defendant in one of them. So you guys have all, it's been dismissed. So that's where you take the redresses. So I don't know. My understanding is, I think she said one time that Mike Mortel offered her $10,000 before the litigation, but then she litigated, and we ended up hiring a lawyer, and I mentioned that our insurance has paid $45,000 in attorney's fees defending him, but that was before we incurred all the legal fees that he had made that offer. And so she has reiterated that a couple of times in emails, and she might have done it on the phone with me or in person.
Thank you, Mr. Baggett.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, may I continue? With regard to the review by this Stuart Independent Review Board, can you just review for the public what is that committee and how that committee got dissolved, and how, even if she was seeking redress under that committee, what the status of that is now?
He has already,
I know.
I know he's already commented on it.
He said he was going to come back to it.
No, I mean, I did, but I can readdress it if you missed it. So I don't remember when, I don't know exactly when we created the SIRB, but I would say it was obviously before 2015, because she was requesting it back then. And through the years, I believe it was very popular for municipalities to have civilian review boards. And I think there was a case in 2017 that went to the Supreme Court that questioned whether or not there could be a civilian review board. This legislature then subsequently, in 2023, I think I said, codified it in the Officers' Bill of Rights that we cannot have civilian review boards, and our SIRB was a civilian review board. So we dissolved the civilian review board because the state of Florida preempted it in the Florida's Officers' Bill of Rights. Just, we removed it from our ordinances. That's why you can't find it in our ordinances. And some of you didn't even know what it was, you newer commissioners, because we haven't had it in a few years. I did have a couple when I first got here in 2023. I faintly remember we did like one or two in the chambers, but then shortly thereafter, the state preempted it, and we dissolved the SIRB. So we cannot have an SIRB. We can't have any review. City Commission cannot review what's already been done with the disciplinary action of the police officers, which is what you want.
Thank you,
in a
Your
big
Honor.
chunk. So, all right.
Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, like Commissioner Clark said, I guess I'm just looking for clarification on what Janine's asking for from the city so we could produce it, do public records. I still haven't heard that. I've heard a lot of stuff on it.
Or you want me to clarify?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, what
So-
exactly?
What I gave you earlier in the public comments, if I may, was a list of what I have received, things I haven't. Two of those items are on that flash drive. Those documents I just handed you, those were filed in the tampering, they should have been filed in the tampering case. I went to great extent and degree to research where are these things being hidden. Those documents were misplaced in another case. My medical reports never acquired by vote, even though he came to the ER that night to serve me a trespassing warrant, not to charge me with battery, by the way. He didn't ask for the medical information on record that night. That is negligent in its basic foundational. I taught school for 16 years. My license was revoked because of this charge. The impersonation, that claim, Dennis Dallas was texting me, ranting at me after the initial incident, alerting me, crazy me, because he was covering himself. In his police statement, he swears, a sworn police statement 3 days later, I had 7 minutes of video. When I sued him for defamation, I received a statement in the email where he details the account of how he and Vo.
We don't have the 7-minute video.
No, we never had it.
Exactly my point.
We don't have it, so.
Exactly my point.
We
The
cannot,
evidence that should be in record is not there because the law enforcement officer that came to the crime scene did not follow Florida Department of Law Enforcement policy and procedure on crime scene investigation. I'm a former teacher. I would never conduct an experiment the way this was done. You can't expect an outcome if you don't start the experiment right and follow the protocol.
do you have a comment?
People, I lost a career over this. You want to know what's wrong with me? I suffer from post-trauma. I wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning still from this. And I'm determined by God to honor him in everything that I do. And this is part of it.
Thank you.
My constitutional rights to due process were violated preliminary. You cannot conduct the kind of investigation without starting it right. I apologize. Though may have been a rookie cop, but in the policy 27, it details how he is supposed to comply.
Did you
I
have a
can show
comment?
you the domestic violence code where he is
Janine,
mandated to
Janine.
comply with state law.
Janine.
I'm through, and I can tell you why. I don't need to be tormented any further by his assessment.
No, we're not trying to torment you.
Because 768.28, when Michael Martell
Janine,
found him
you're still,
punitive for what
Janine,
he did,
Janine, you're still going.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
punitive,
Thank you,
the
Mr. Mayor.
damages will be uncapped.
Thank you. So, Mr. City Attorney, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It's been a little while since I did some clemency work. I helped some people when they were trying to get their vote back when Amendment 1 was on and people were trying to, or after it came through, people were going to the supervisor of elections and getting all their paperwork in order to get their vote back, sending stuff up to get that done. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Baggett, not knowing specifically what is being asked to be produced, it would be some type of a final judgment, some type of a final disposition, and that's all, they need. I
I made
mean,
an application and it was returned. I have to wait another 5 years of my life.
oh.
That's why I came forward.
Get somebody to help you, get legal counsel to help you. There's a Florida group, there's a group out of Gainesville, that will help you.
Let me tell you, I've been financially restricted all of these years. I was driven into poverty by this.
There's a group in Gainesville that will help
No
you.
wonder. God's honored everything I've done. I own a home. I will borrow the equity in that home. It will go to damages. I'm trying to tell you, you better read 768.28. The minimum is $200,000. The maximum is uncapped. I'm giving you opportunity not to make me go through any more litigation. I wrote all of the legal briefs in the federal case, and I was arrested 10 days after I served that to Michael Martell. Again, put in jail. 4 months in jail, restricting me from being able to file responses to the motions to dismiss. There is so much intentional stuff here. I will take this. I know how to organize and do what I need to do, but I'll hire an attorney. I will end up paying them 25% of any remedy I get. On my mother and father's grave and their name, I will pursue this. I beg of you to reconsider what's going on here. It's under the statute of fraud. I had 12 years of concealment. That video was concealed by Dennis Callis. If you can't hear my intention, if you can't hear, it's honorable that I'm doing what I'm doing. If any other woman has to deal with what I've dealt with, it's a disgrace to your community that it happened. It is a public disgrace that it happened. Look at the bruises. Look at the medical report. Psychologically and physically abused that night from an ER doctor. Joyce O'Connell doesn't have any record of injury except hearsay by vote.
Janine. Janine. Janine.
He didn't follow protocol, period.
Janine, the meeting is off the rails.
I'm done. I'm leaving for my own mental health.
Okay.
Mr. Baguette, there's
Janine, please. All right. Are there any other comments?
Thank you for allowing me.
matter of public record, I want to go on record.
Are there any other
Entitled to a copy of those meetings.
Are there any other comments from commissioners?
The only thing I'd like to say is any documents that she's looking for through a public record request, you know, correct.
They've been given, I believe.
They did.
Or maybe have her renew the public record request so they could be fulfilled if they need paid before they're fulfilled, right?
We have fulfilled all of the requests.
Even the
And
ones
the
that
ones
were-
that were not fulfilled were withdrawn from her, or she didn't pay. There was a very few of those. But there was another request that came in through the police department records division, and it included everything we have on this entire case.
And that one wasn't
I
fulfilled?
have that number. That was provided to her.
Okay.
That was in 2023, number 1923, or 1983, 2023.
There's nothing else for us to give.
We've given everything and sometimes duplicate because the requests keep coming in
I
for the
have
same
a
record.
55-second video on this flash. I also have police station, March 11th, where I'm telling you, after Sunita, they missed it.
Okay.
That night,
Janine,
they stormed my house.
Janine,
From my own volition.
we're not trying to,
I have a warrant.
is there anything else from the
Stay
commission?
well, Miss Alexander.
Thank you for your time, Commissioners. I don't think any intent means to be disrespectful,
I know.
but I owe it to myself.
Yes, ma'am.
I owe it to my mom. I owe it to my father. I owe it to 3 adult children who watched me make this die. I wasn't trying to commit suicide. When law enforcement officers surrounded my home at 10:30 at night, I needed to calm myself. I was like this. I was beside myself. It nearly cost me my life. They handled things the way that they handled them. I'm here to tell you, nobody should be treated like this in the United States of America.
All right, seeing no further comments or business, this meeting's adjourned.